Picture this. You're sitting in your brand new home by the lake. The sun is setting, the water's shimmering, and you're taking it all in, feeling that sweet relief of finally owning something you've worked so hard for. It's the perfect moment, and you're already imagining how great it'll be to spend the summers here, maybe even throw a barbecue or two. But as peaceful as the lake is, you quickly find out that your new slice of paradise isn't as quiet as you thought. Oh no, it's not the sound of kids playing or the occasional duck quacking across the water. It's the sound of someone who thinks they own more than just their own property. Someone who believes that because they've lived near the lake for years, that they've somehow earned the right to make demands, to tell you what you can or can't do. This is where the story gets interesting. Because you, my friend, are in for a surprise. The person I'm talking about is none other than Karen. You know who I mean, right? The kind of person who thinks the rules are meant for everyone else but not her. You've heard the stories. You've probably seen them online. Karen doesn't just think she's in charge. She expects it. And she'll stop at nothing to get her way. It all starts when she walks up to your doorstep one afternoon, like she owns the entire block. She's probably in her mid-40s, with that stern look on her face. The one that says, "I've been here longer, so I know what's best for everyone." She knocks, and the conversation starts with the kind of passive-aggressive greeting you're now really getting used to hearing. "Hey, I noticed you just moved in. You know, we have rules around here." At this point, you're trying to figure out whether this is some weird HOA meeting you accidentally walked into. You're new to the area, fresh-faced, and excited to start this next chapter of your life. The last thing on your mind is dealing with someone's rules. After all, you're not even a part of this so-called HOA. You've got your own legal documents to prove it. But before you can even speak, Karen is already going off about how the property you just bought interferes with the HOA's plans. The audacity. Her first words catch you off guard. I don't know if you realize this, but you've just bought land that isn't really yours to do whatever you want with. Wait, what? Your mind starts racing. Did she just say that? Does she think she has some kind of authority over your property just because she's lived in the neighborhood a little longer? You try to remain calm. You've been through enough drama in life to know not to panic, especially when someone's making baseless claims. But this is a whole new level of entitlement. Karen goes on, explaining that her HOA has a list of rules and that they manage the entire area around the lake, which, in her words, includes your new property. Her eyes narrow slightly, as if she's trying to figure out how to convince you that you're in the wrong, that you're the one who doesn't belong. And here's the kicker. She's not even being subtle about it. She's not asking you to join the HOA. She's not giving you any space to make your own decision. Instead, she's flat out demanding that you follow their rules, whether you're a part of the HOA or not. For a moment, you're speechless. Maybe you're thinking, is this a joke? Did I miss something in the paperwork when I bought this land? I'm not in the HOA. But Karen's relentless. She's not here to discuss your rights as a legal property owner. She's here to take control, to enforce what she believes is her vision for how everything around here should go. The more she talks, the more she sounds like she's convinced she has some sort of cosmic authority, as though the land you now legally own is somehow hers by default. And the crazy thing? She doesn't even pause to give you a chance to speak. She keeps blabbering about HOA rules, about proper land management, and the kind of respect the lake and its surroundings demand. It's like she believes you need her permission to breathe. You can almost see her trying to picture you giving in, signing on to her imaginary list of lake rules, just so she can go back to her perfect, controlled neighborhood. But you're not some pushover. You know how to handle this kind of thing. You've got a legal deed in your hands, and it's not from some HOA meeting that she just conjured up in her mind. Your title to this property is legitimate, and that's about to become very clear to her. You take a deep breath and then you lay it out for her. I'm not part of your HOA. I legally own this land, and I don't need anyone's permission to live here or use it as I see fit. Now, Karen doesn't like that. Not one bit. She's not ready to give up just yet. She looks at you, almost like you've just insulted her entire existence. She opens her mouth, preparing to fight back, but you can already tell she's going to try and twist this around. She's going to make herself out to be the victim here, even though she's the one overstepping boundaries. But that's how Karens work, don't they? They don't see the world as it really is. They see it through a lens that fits their narrative. And her narrative says that she gets to tell everyone what to do. The thing is, you're not intimidated. Not by her attitude. Not by her misplaced confidence. You've done your homework and you know exactly where you stand. You take another look at the deed in your hand, the one that proves you're in the clear, and you repeat your stance. There's no room for misinterpretation. You're the legal owner, and she can't change that no matter how many times she talks about her HOA. But as she stands there, fuming, you can tell that the wheels are already turning in her head. She doesn't know what to do with this information. It's not what she expected. She probably thought she could just walk up, intimidate you with her HOA authority, and get you to fall in line, but that's not going to happen. Not today. What Karen doesn't realize is that she's about to learn a hard lesson. You're not the one who's wrong in this situation. She's the one with the skewed perspective, the one who thinks that because she's been here longer, she gets to control what happens around the lake. It's an entitlement complex, one that so many people in her position suffer from. It's the kind of mindset that leads to conflict when they encounter someone who simply refuses to back down. This interaction, though, isn't going to be just a simple back and forth. No, it's the beginning of something bigger. Because when Karen walks away from this conversation, she's going to have a realization that might sting a little. Not everyone will bow down to her or her HOA rules. And that's when things get even more interesting. Because Karen isn't the type to let things slide. She's about to take this situation to a whole new level. But you're about to show her just how real legal ownership works. You can see it in her eyes. Karen's not going to walk away quietly. She's the kind of person who isn't satisfied unless she's in control. And right now, she's not in control. That, my friend, is the real problem here. So, what does she do next? She tries to play the long game. She starts to play her cards, but they're not exactly the winning hand she thinks they are. A few days pass, and you think, maybe this was just an odd moment. Maybe she'll realize that you're serious about the legalities and move on with her life. But you've learned by now that Karens aren't the type to just move on. No, she's plotting her next move, and it doesn't take long before she's back at your doorstep again, this time with a little more fire in her eyes. And this time, she's not alone. You open the door, expecting it to be Karen, but instead, it's Karen and a couple of other people. You don't recognize them, but from the look on their faces, you can tell they're all in on this little drama. One of them, a guy in his late 50s with a gray beard, steps forward. He extends his hand, as if this is some sort of peace offering, but there's a smugness behind his eyes that makes your stomach churn. He introduces himself as the president of the HOA, like that title is some sort of golden ticket to making the rules. You stand there for a moment, just staring at him, trying to figure out what's going on. Karen must have pulled in the big guns now, and you can't help but roll your eyes at the whole ridiculous situation. Look, we've all been talking, he says, glancing back at Karen and the other people with her, and we understand you're not part of the HOA. But what we do understand is that this area by the lake has certain standards that need to be upheld. You can't just go about doing whatever you please with your property. It affects the whole community. You suppress the urge to laugh because, honestly, this is getting ridiculous. They think because they've held some imaginary title for so long that they can control everything around them. But it's the same song and dance. They've got the same flawed logic they've been clinging to, and now they're trying to force you into a corner. The audacity of it. The nerve. You don't say anything at first. You just stand there, letting them stew in their own nonsense. Karen's glaring at you like you've just slapped her in the face. She's probably expecting you to crumble under the weight of her fake authority, but instead, you're just standing your ground, and that's exactly what they weren't prepared for. Finally, you speak, slow and steady, making sure every word lands just right. Let me make something clear. You start. I legally own this land. I am under no obligation to follow your HOA's rules. I'm not a member. I don't answer to you, and I don't have to justify my actions to you. They blink at you, not quite sure how to respond. Karen's eyes go wide for a moment, as if she's just realizing this isn't a battle she can win by sheer force. It's almost as if her brain is playing catch-up with her emotions. You can see her trying to come up with something, anything, to refute what you've said. But there's nothing she can do. Your rights are clear. Your ownership is clear. And no matter how much they want to twist reality, the law isn't on their side. The president of the HOA, however, is stubborn. He clears his throat, trying to regain some semblance of authority. Well, it's not just about legal ownership, he says, clearly grasping at straws. It's about community standards, respect for the environment. We've worked really hard to make this area look the way it does, and we expect everyone to contribute to that vision. You give him a look. You're done playing games. If you cared about the vision, you'd have checked the property records before trying to tell me what to do on my own land. You fire back. You know it's not just about property rights anymore. It's about Karen and the HOA's delusional need for control. And you've seen it before, haven't you? The people who can't stand the idea of someone else taking the reins, stepping into a space they think they own, even when they don't. The president and Karen exchange a glance. They can feel the walls closing in, but they won't give up. No, that's not how Karen works. She's built herself up in this little world, and she doesn't intend to let it all come crashing down because of one person who refuses to back down. So what does she do? She doubles down. Maybe we should get the lawyer involved, Karen says, crossing her arms. You'll see, we have a lot of legal power behind us. You just smile. Oh, this is good. You don't need to say anything else because, by now, it's clear. They've got nothing. It's all a bluff. It's a game of smoke and mirrors, and you've already called it out. But they don't realize that yet. They're still clinging to their fake sense of control, still pretending that their community standards can override the law. You know what's coming next. They'll try to push harder, try to pressure you with whatever tools they think they have. But you also know something they don't. This fight is about to get even more interesting. Because no matter how much Karen or her HOA buddies try to change the rules, the truth is on your side. And when the legal paperwork starts flying, it's going to be a whole new level of reality for them. But for now, you just stand there looking at them like they've got a lot to learn. You're ready for whatever comes next because this little game of theirs? It's about to end. The days that follow are filled with a sense of anticipation. It's almost like you can feel the storm brewing, but you've already decided. You're not backing down. Karen and her HOA crew, however, seem to believe that they've got this in the bag. They think they can outplay you with legal jargon and threats, but they don't know what you know. They don't have the facts, and they sure as hell don't have the right to control your life. Sure enough, about a week later, you get a letter in the mail. It's from a law firm. The paper feels thick and official, and you can almost hear Karen's voice in your head as you tear it open. We've had enough. We'll see you in court. You skim through the letter, rolling your eyes. It's the same tired threats they've been making for days, empty words trying to sound bigger than they really are. It's a legal notice saying that the HOA believes your property infringes upon their common interests and that they want to sue for damages. The audacity. The letter talks about neighborhood agreements and compliance with community aesthetics, but nowhere in the document does it address one simple, undeniable fact. This is your property. You legally own it. No amount of Karen's whining or HOA posturing changes that. At this point, you know it's time to get serious. The game they're playing is about to get real, and it's clear that Karen has pulled out her big guns, lawyers. But you're not scared. You've been preparing for this. You know that the law is on your side, and you've got the paperwork to prove it. So you take a deep breath, collect your thoughts, and do what you do best, play this by the book. You contact your own lawyer. You don't waste time thinking about it because you know this could go one of two ways. Either they'll back off after realizing they've got nothing, or they'll try to push harder, dragging it out in court. But you're not going to let them intimidate you. You've got a team of professionals behind you now, and your lawyer is confident that you're in the right. The best part? They're ready to take it to court if needed. They know Karen and her HOA can't win this fight, but they also know that these kinds of cases can be dragged out for a while, especially when the other side is stubborn. Meanwhile, Karen seems to be getting more and more desperate. Her attempts to intimidate you haven't worked, and now she's pulling out every last trick she's got. She starts to gather support from other people in the neighborhood, trying to rally them to her side. She talks about how you're disrupting the peaceful atmosphere, of the neighborhood and how your presence by the lake is a threat to the community's image. It's laughable. You've never met anyone more obsessed with appearances than Karen. But here's the thing, you're not backing down, and you're not going to let her control the narrative. The more she talks about community standards, the more it becomes clear that her problem isn't about protecting the neighborhood. Her problem is that she can't stand the idea of someone new, someone who's not part of her HOA, moving into what she considers her little kingdom. She continues her campaign of passive-aggressive behavior. One day, you find a note on your door that says, "Remember, you're still not one of us. You don't belong here." It's written in that childish, vindictive handwriting that makes you wonder how someone so obsessed with control could be so petty. But you don't let it get to you. You've seen this before. It's the last desperate attempt of someone who knows they're losing. The HOA president? He's no better. He's still playing his little power games, sending emails and phone calls, demanding that you follow their so-called rules. But each time, you fire back with the facts, reminding him that you've done everything by the book and you're not interested in his HOA's irrelevant guidelines. The more you stand your ground, the more they seem to flounder. It's as if they can't wrap their heads around the idea that their authority over the neighborhood doesn't extend to your property. Then, one afternoon, just when you think you're starting to get a break, you see Karen standing by the lake, talking to a few other neighbors. They're looking at your property, pointing, whispering, clearly gossiping. You can hear snippets of their conversation. "I don't know, it's just not right. They shouldn't be here. The lake's for everyone, not just them." You can feel your blood boil. This is her game, isolating you, making you the other, the outsider. She wants to make sure everyone knows you're not welcome. You decide you've had enough. It's time to confront her directly. You walk over to where Karen is standing, your steps firm, and when she sees you, there's that same smirk on her face. She's not expecting this, but you don't care. You're not going to let her dictate the narrative anymore. "Karen," you say, your voice steady, "I'm done with your little games. I've heard enough of your whispers and your attempts to rally the neighborhood against me. This isn't your land. It's mine. And no matter how many people you convince to join your crusade, you can't change that fact." Karen opens her mouth to say something, but you cut her off. You're not giving her the chance to twist your words or turn this into something it's not. You keep going, making sure she understands. "You've tried every trick in the book, but it's over. I'm not backing down. You've got nothing to hold over me. You're not going to bully me off my own property." For a moment, there's silence. The neighbors who are standing with her look between you and Karen, almost like they're unsure of what to do. They were all too eager to jump on Karen's side, but now, it seems like they're not so sure anymore. Karen's smirk falters just a little bit, but she still holds on to her pride. She's not ready to admit defeat. "You'll regret this," she mutters under her breath, but there's no fire in her voice. It's more of a whimper than a threat. You turn and walk back to your property, feeling a sense of relief. The power is back in your hands. The more you stand your ground, the more she'll see that you're not the one to mess with. The legal battle is still on the horizon, but now, it feels different. You know that no matter what Karen throws your way, you've got the facts, the law, and most importantly, your own unwavering determination to get through this. You've been patient. You've played by the rules, and now it's time for her to face the consequences of her entitled behavior. And in the end, when all is said and done, Karen will have no choice but to accept that she doesn't own the lake, and she's sure. As the days drag on, you start to feel the weight of the situation lifting. Karen's threats are starting to lose their impact. She's tried everything, from sending lawyers to gossiping with neighbors, but she hasn't budged you an inch. Still, you know she's not the type to just walk away without trying one last Hail Mary. You can't quite shake the feeling that she's still plotting something, but this time, you're prepared for whatever she throws your way. And then, as if on cue, she makes her next move. It's a quiet Sunday afternoon when you get another letter. This time, it's from the HOA. It's not just a simple complaint anymore. Oh no, Karen and her HOA buddies have taken it up a notch. The letter demands that you attend a community meeting to address the ongoing issues with your property. It's written in the same tone you've come to expect from Karen, passive-aggressive and dripping with condescension. You read it over a few times, trying to figure out what exactly they think they're going to accomplish. A community meeting? They're going to try to pressure you in front of the whole neighborhood, trying to make you feel like an outsider, like you don't belong. But you know better now. This is just another attempt to get you to bend to their will, to make you feel like you're in the wrong when you're doing everything by the book. You don't respond right away. Instead, you sit with it for a moment, considering your options. It's tempting to ignore them, to just keep living your life in peace. But you know Karen won't let it go that easily. She'll turn this into another drama, spreading rumors, trying to make you out to be the villain. And you're not going to let that happen. So you decide it's time to take this head on. You show up at the community meeting with your lawyer by your side. You know that Karen and her HOA buddies are expecting you to fold, to sit quietly and accept whatever they try to impose on you. But you're not playing that game anymore. You walk in, your head held high, ready to face whatever comes next. Karen's there, of course, sitting at the front with the HOA president, flanked by a few other neighbors who are eager to join her cause. They don't even try to hide their disdain as they glance at you. It's clear they're hoping for a show, that you'll back down and give them the power they crave. But you're not here for a show. You're here to settle this once and for all. The HOA president stands up, looking at you with that same air of smugness he's had from the start. He's ready to argue, to try and convince everyone that you're the one causing all the trouble. But you've got something he doesn't, the truth. "Thank you for coming," he starts, his voice overly formal. "As you know, we've been facing some issues with the property you've recently purchased by the lake. The community has expressed concerns about the disruption this has caused." You almost laugh out loud. The community? The same community that Karen's been stirring up trouble with? It's clear that this is all a setup. But you bite your tongue, letting him finish his speech. "We believe," he continues, "that your property violates several community standards, and it's important that we address this in front of everyone here." You raise your hand, signaling that you'd like to speak. The president looks at you, clearly irritated, but he knows better than to try and stop you. This meeting isn't about him anymore. It's about you and your rights. You stand up, the room growing quiet as you speak. You start slow, making sure your words are clear and precise. "Let's get something straight," you say, your voice carrying across the room. "This is my property. I legally own it. And I don't have to answer to any of you, especially not when you're trying to make me follow rules that don't even apply to me." The room falls silent. You can feel the tension in the air. Karen's face reddens, and she opens her mouth to speak, but you cut her off. "Karen," you say, "I've listened to your complaints, your threats, your passive-aggressive tactics. But I'm not here to play your game. You don't get to tell me how to live on my own land." The other neighbors shift in their seats. Some are clearly uncomfortable, but others are starting to listen. You can see a few of them nodding, the tension in the room easing just a little bit. They're realizing something. Karen's not the only voice in this neighborhood, and maybe she doesn't have all the answers. You continue, your words more confident now. "The law is on my side. I don't need to attend these meetings. I don't need your permission to live here. And I certainly don't need your HOA to tell me what I can or can't do. You don't get to control me just because you've been here longer. That's not how this works." Karen's face is almost purple now, but there's nothing she can do. She's been outplayed. The HOA president looks at you, trying to regain some control, but you can see the cracks starting to show. They thought they had the upper hand, but now it's clear they've been outmatched. "I'm done with this," you say, turning to leave. "You've had your chance to talk. I've made my point. I'm not interested in playing any more of your games." As you make your way to the door, Karen stands up, her voice trembling with fury. "This isn't over," she shouts. "You'll regret this." You don't even turn around. You walk out of that room with your head held high, knowing that you've won. It's over. You've shown them who's in charge, and no matter what Karen or the HOA tries next, they can't change the facts. You own that land, and they can't take that away from you. As you walk back to your property, you feel a weight lifting off your shoulders. It's done. The battle may not have been easy, but you've proven one thing: standing your ground works. You didn't let an entitled Karen push you around. You took control, and you showed her that you don't back down no matter how hard she tries. And with that, you can finally breathe easy. Your slice of lakeside paradise is... The dust settles after the meeting, but you know that Karen isn't one to let things go easily. She may have stormed out of that room, but her pride's wounded, and wounded pride can be dangerous. It doesn't take long before you start hearing rumors that Karen's been telling everyone about how you disrespected her at the meeting. She's been spinning the narrative, trying to make it sound like you're the one causing all the drama, not her. You hear it from a couple of neighbors who, honestly, don't seem to know what to believe. They've heard Karen's version of events and they've heard yours, but they're stuck in the middle. They don't want to get involved, but you can feel the tension rising. The neighborhood feels different now, a little colder, a little more divided. It's not like it was before you moved in, before Karen made it her mission to make your life difficult. But you're not bothered by it. You've got a life to live, and no entitled neighbor's petty drama is going to change that. You've got your rights. You've got your land. And at the end of the day, Karen's not going to dictate how you live. The neighborhood can buzz all at once, but you're not backing down. Days go by, and Karen's quiet for a while. You think maybe she's finally realized that she's not going to win this. But you're wrong. Because Karen doesn't give up that easily. One afternoon, you're outside enjoying the fresh air, just taking in the view of the lake, when you hear the unmistakable sound of a car pulling up. You turn to see Karen's car parked by the curb, and your heart sinks. What now? You know it's not going to be a friendly visit. Karen steps out of the car, and she's got that look on her face again, the one that says she's about to start another round of drama. You brace yourself, but this time, it's different. There's something a little more calculated in her demeanor. She's not yelling, not storming up to your door. She's walking slowly, like she's in control. She stops in front of you, giving you a tight smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes. I've been thinking about our last conversation, Karen says, her voice almost too sweet. And I've realized something. Maybe we've been going about this all wrong. I think we could come to some sort of understanding. You raise an eyebrow, suspicious. You've heard this kind of thing before. It's the let's make a deal routine, and you're not interested in playing along. Look, you say, I've already made myself clear. I don't need any help from you, or your HOA. My property is mine, and nothing is going to change that. Karen nods slowly, like she's considering your words. But then, she leans in just a little, lowering her voice. I get it. I really do. But, you see, things have a way of working themselves out. And if you're not willing to cooperate, well, I just might have to take this up with the local authorities. You wouldn't want the city to get involved, would you? That could get ugly. You can feel the tension in the air, the underlying threat hanging between you. She's not even trying to hide it now. She's telling you exactly what she's thinking. She's going to use her connections, her influence in the neighborhood, and maybe even twist the law to her advantage. She's trying to make you feel like the only way to avoid a bigger fight is to give in. But you're not having it. You don't scare me, Karen, you reply, your voice steady. This is my land, and I've already dealt with more than enough of your nonsense. If you want to take it up with the authorities, go ahead. But don't think for a second that you're going to bully me into doing what you want. She looks at you, her expression hardening for a moment. You can see the gears turning in her head. But then, just as quickly as the tension came, it fades. Karen sighs, a dramatic, over-the-top exhale like she's the one carrying the weight of the world. Fine, she says, standing up straight. You want to do this the hard way? Then I guess we're done here. She turns on her heel and walks back to her car, not sparing you another glance. You watch her go, that nagging feeling in your gut telling you that this isn't quite the end yet. But for now, you've won again. You've stood your ground, and she's backed off, at least for the moment. The next few weeks pass in relative peace. You don't hear from Karen, and the neighborhood feels quieter. The gossiping dies down, and the stares from your neighbors seem to fade. It's like Karen's power over the place is slowly slipping away. Then one day, you get a letter in the mail. But this time, it's not from Karen or the HOA. It's from your lawyer, and your heart skips a beat as you open it. It's official. The HOA has dropped the case. They've decided to walk away, leaving you to live your life without interference. The lawyer's letter is clear. The HOA had no legal grounds to challenge your ownership, and they've agreed to let it go. They're moving on, realizing that their attempts to intimidate you have failed. For a second, you just sit there, staring at the letter, letting it all sink in. You've won. You've beaten Karen at her own game. And you didn't have to do anything underhanded or petty. You just stood your ground, kept your cool, and let the law speak for itself. You can almost hear Karen's voice in your head, the sound of her disbelief as she realizes that all her threats were for nothing. It's over. You've won, and now you can finally enjoy the peace and quiet of your lakeside home. But there's a small part of you that's still a little curious. What will Karen do now? How will she handle the loss? The answer is simple. She'll probably try to find another battle to fight, another person to control. But for now, you've won. And that's all that matters. With the weight of the neighborhood drama finally behind you, you step outside, breathe in the fresh air, and look out at the lake. It's yours, all of it. And this time, there's no Karen standing in your way. As the days go by, you begin to notice something strange, a peace you haven't felt since moving here. The neighborhood feels different now. The tension that Karen had stirred up is finally gone. People smile as they pass you on the street. There are fewer whispers behind closed doors, and the sense of camaraderie seems to have returned. It's like a veil has lifted, and with it, the shadow of Karen's influence. For the first time since the drama began, you wake up to the sound of birds chirping, not distant gossip or the hum of tension in the air. The lake, once a place of conflict, now feels like your personal retreat. You're not just the new neighbor anymore. You're part of the landscape, a rightful part of this space that's truly yours. It's quiet, and maybe that's the best part. The world isn't perfect, but in this moment, it's calm. No Karen running around with her HOA complaints. No threats of legal action. Just you, your property, and the peaceful serenity of the lake. But even though it's quiet now, there's a part of you that wonders if Karen has truly given up. She's the kind of person who doesn't know when to walk away. The kind of person who can't accept defeat, even when it's staring her in the face. She's probably plotting her next move, trying to find another way to undermine your victory. But honestly, you're not worried. You've shown her that you're not someone she can push around. And if she ever tries anything again, well, you'll be ready. A few weeks later, you bump into a neighbor who had been relatively neutral in the whole mess. He tells you that Karen's been keeping to herself, no longer trying to rally the neighborhood or make waves. He also mentions that the HOA has been in a bit of turmoil. Some of the other members have started questioning their decisions, especially after how things played out with you. They're realizing that their power trip wasn't all it was cracked up to be. Karen's not a happy camper, he says with a grin. But I think she's finally learned her lesson. You can't help but smile. You don't need to rub it in, but knowing that Karen is finally getting the message is satisfying. It's not about revenge or gloating. It's about the simple satisfaction of knowing that you've been true to yourself, that you've stood your ground, and that, in the end, your rights were respected. The story with Karen hasn't just changed her view of you. It's changed the whole dynamic of the neighborhood. People are starting to realize that they have power too. Power to stand up for themselves, to push back against unreasonable demands, and to refuse to be controlled by someone who thinks they have the upper hand simply because they've been around longer. And you? Well, you're starting to think about what comes next. The lake is still as beautiful as ever, and now, you can finally enjoy it the way you always intended to. No more watching your back. No more dealing with the nonsense that Karen tried to force on you. Now, it's just about enjoying the peace, the water, and the beauty of your property. Maybe you'll throw that barbecue you've been dreaming of. Maybe you'll invite some of the neighbors who have been nothing but kind throughout the whole ordeal. Because, in the end, it's not just about ownership, it's about community. A real community, one that values respect and mutual understanding, not one built on power struggles and entitled attitudes. You're not just the new neighbor anymore. You're the one who stood up, the one who fought for what was right. And now, you get to enjoy the fruits of that victory. As the sun begins to set over the lake, casting a golden hue across the water, you take a deep breath and let it out slowly. The journey was hard, and there were times when it felt like you were never going to win. But you did. And now, you can finally enjoy what's truly yours, without anyone standing in your way. It feels good. And for the first time in a long time, you know that this is where you belong. It's been months now, and life has returned to normal. Well, normal in the sense that your version of normal means peace and quiet by the lake, free from Karen's relentless pursuit of control. But something tells you that this won't be the last time you'll run into entitled people trying to push boundaries. After all, this was just one chapter in the ongoing saga of property ownership, legal rights, and the bizarre antics of people who feel entitled to tell others what to do. You've learned a lot from the experience. For one, it's not just about winning in the courtroom or having the right legal paperwork. It's about knowing your worth, your boundaries, and standing firm even when it feels like everyone around you is trying to knock you down. It's about having the courage to walk into those difficult situations and say, "No, I won't back down. This is my space, my life, and I won't let anyone take that from me." But there's also something else you've come to understand, that the real power doesn't always lie in confrontation. Sometimes, it's the quiet confidence of knowing you don't need to fight for your place in the world. You already have it. The legal battle with Karen was just a symptom of a larger issue, the constant struggle between those who want to control everything around them and those who simply want to live their lives in peace. As the weeks roll by, you notice a subtle shift in the neighborhood. Some of the people who once sided with Karen are now beginning to question their own assumptions. The HOA has become less of a shadow over the community. There's still the occasional conversation about the way things used to be, but now, when the topic of your property comes up, it's with a quiet respect. You didn't just fight for your own peace, you unintentionally sparked a change. You've also learned to appreciate the smaller moments, the ones that don't require a fight or confrontation. Watching the sun set over the lake without a care in the world, having neighbors stop by to chat without drama looming in the background, and knowing that you've created a space where you can just be yourself, these are the things that matter most. Karen, of course, never truly accepts her defeat. She's still the same Karen, still the same person who thinks the world revolves around her. But her attempts to rally the neighborhood are fewer now, and when she does speak, her voice lacks the conviction it once had. She knows she's lost. You've broken the cycle. The power she once held over the community is slipping away, and there's nothing she can do about it. As for you, you're stronger now, more confident. You know that the world is full of challenges, but also that the biggest ones are often the ones we face when we stand up for ourselves. You've got the lake, your home, and the knowledge that no one, not even a Karen with an HOA and a power complex, can take that from you. You're finally living the life you wanted, a life of peace and tranquility, unshackled from the grip of entitled demands. And every time you look out over the water, you're reminded that sometimes the best battles are the ones you don't have to fight. They're the ones where you stand firm, and in the end, your strength speaks for itself. A few months pass in relative peace. The lake glistens as always, and the once awkward tension in the neighborhood has settled into a comfortable quiet. Life has returned to something resembling normal, or at least the normal you can get when you've fought an entitled HOA tyrant. You've spent your days enjoying the simplicity of your land, meeting the few neighbors who remain pleasant, and living free from Karen's meddling. But sometimes peace is a little too quiet. And in a quiet neighborhood, things tend to stay hidden until they don't. It starts small, almost unnoticeable. One morning, while sipping your coffee on the porch, you hear a soft rustling across the lake. You look up from your mug, trying to figure out what it is. The trees sway gently in the breeze, but there's something odd about the way the branches are moving. It almost looks like someone is walking through the woods on the other side. You squint, trying to make sense of it. But no one's supposed to be there. The land beyond the lake is public forest, not owned by anyone, and no one's supposed to be on your side of the water either. The thought sends a chill down your spine. As the days go by, the odd occurrences become more frequent. First, it's just the rustling in the trees. Then, you begin to notice strange markings on the ground near the edge of your property, almost like someone has been circling it. The marks are subtle, but they're there. And each time you go to check, they've moved slightly, just enough to raise suspicion. At first, you brush it off. Maybe it's animals, maybe it's just the wind, but deep down, you can't shake the feeling that someone is watching. One afternoon, while you're out for a walk near the edge of the lake, you hear it, footsteps. Soft, but deliberate. You turn quickly, but there's nothing. No one. Just the trees swaying again. Your heart races as you slowly scan the area. Something's off, but you can't put your finger on it. It's then that you notice something that wasn't there before. A small, inconspicuous wooden post stuck in the ground near the tree line. At first, it looks like a forgotten trail marker, but something about it doesn't sit right. You walk over to it and, as you reach down to examine it, a chill runs down your spine. It's not just a trail marker. It's a boundary marker. It's not one that you've ever seen before. It's different from the usual markers that define property lines. This one's old, faded, and yet freshly dug into the earth, as if someone had planted it recently. Your eyes widen. This is no accident. You stand up straight, your pulse quickening. The realization hits you like a ton of bricks. Someone's trying to claim your land. Panic sets in. You back away from the marker, your mind racing with possibilities. Could it be Karen? Could she have come back with a new strategy, trying to lay claim to your property through some underhanded means? Or has she found a new ally to help her push her agenda? Your first instinct is to head inside and call your lawyer, but you pause. There's no point in calling until you know what exactly is going on. You take a deep breath, trying to steady your nerves, and start to search the area more thoroughly. There's nothing overtly menacing. No signs of construction. No obvious illegal activity. But there's something in the air, a feeling that things are about to get much more complicated. The following days are filled with unease. You find more of those markers, each one a little closer to your land. They're being placed strategically, almost like someone's marking off territory, testing the waters. But it's not clear who or why. The neighborhood feels like it's holding its breath again, and Karen's shadow starts to loom larger. You haven't seen her around lately, but you can't help but wonder if she's behind this. Maybe it's her way of getting back at you, using another angle, another attempt at undermining your rights. But it's not just about the markers now. One morning, you find a note wedged in the crack of your door. You tear it open, half expecting more of the same passive-aggressive nonsense from Karen. But instead, it's a message that's cold and cryptic. Get out while you can. It's not just about the property. It's bigger than that. You're not welcome here anymore. The words are simple, but the meaning behind them isn't. The message is clear. Someone is trying to take something from you again. And this time, it's not just about property rights. It's about something far more sinister. You stand there, frozen, staring at the note. The voice in your head is louder now. You were right all along. Karen didn't let go. She may have retreated, but this isn't over. Someone is testing your boundaries, and it's not just a legal challenge anymore. It's a fight for control. But control over what? Your land? Your peace? Or something deeper? With a deep breath, you fold the note back up. You know what you have to do now. You won't let this go unnoticed. You won't let someone try to claim what is rightfully yours. You grab your phone and dial your lawyer's number once more. This is bigger than anything you've faced before, and it's time to face it head-on. The call to your lawyer is quick but purposeful. After explaining the situation with the markers and the cryptic note, your lawyer's voice shifts from calm to serious. They suggest documenting everything you've found so far, the markings, the note, the posts in the ground, everything. It's crucial to keep a record in case things escalate further. They also recommend contacting local authorities to report the incident, even if it's just as a precautionary measure. You know they're right. But something about this situation feels different. It's not just about proving ownership anymore. It's about confronting an unseen force, a shadow that's moved into your life again, and it's not Karen this time. It's something deeper. Someone or something is behind this, and it's coming for your land. That night, you sit by the window, staring out at the still lake. The sun has set, casting the water in dark, reflective hues. You're uneasy, but determined. You've fought for what's yours, and you're not going to let some anonymous threat push you out now. The silence outside is eerie, and every little sound makes you jump. It feels like you're being watched, but every time you turn, there's no one there. The next morning, you get an unexpected visitor. You're sipping your coffee when you hear the sound of footsteps on your porch. You jump up, startled.
Who could it be?
You've been keeping to yourself, not bothering anyone, and certainly not inviting anyone over. You cautiously move to the door and peek through the peephole. To your surprise, it's a man you've never seen before. He's tall, dressed in a button-down shirt, and carrying a large folder under his arm. His expression is serious, his demeanor professional, but there's something about him that feels off. You open the door, just enough to see him clearly. "Can I help you?" you ask, your voice steady but guarded. The man smiles politely, but with an almost mechanical warmth. "Good morning. My name is David Crane. I'm an investigator working on behalf of the neighborhood council. We've received some complaints about certain developments near the lake, and I'm here to gather some information." You pause. A neighborhood council? What is this guy talking about? Your mind races. The HOA? It's got to be Karen pulling strings again, or at least trying to use others to do her dirty work. But you don't say anything just yet. You decide to let him explain. "Complaints?" you ask, your brow furrowing. "I haven't done anything that would warrant a complaint. The property is mine, and I've followed all the legal procedures." David nods, but the smile never reaches his eyes. "Oh, we're aware of that. This isn't about the property ownership, per se. It's about a potential hazard, you see. A security threat, perhaps. There have been some concerns about the boundary lines, and some of the residents believe it's a bit unsettling that you're building so close to the lake. It's important for us to maintain safety in the area." Now you're starting to feel the weight of something more sinister creeping in. The phrasing is too vague, too calculated. You know something isn't right. "Safety," you repeat, trying to piece together what he's actually saying. "You're saying the lake is a hazard?" He doesn't flinch at your question. "Exactly. We've received several reports about unusual activity near your land. People have noticed strange movements in the woods, something that's been concerning the neighborhood. They want to make sure that no one's disturbing the natural habitat." You blink, feeling a chill run down your spine. It's not about property rights anymore. It's about controlling the narrative, creating fear, and then using that fear to push you out. He's playing you, and you're just beginning to realize it. "I'm not going anywhere," you say firmly, meeting his eyes. "I've followed the law, and no one has the right to take my land from me. If there's a real security issue, I'll gladly work with the authorities. But this is my property, and I'll defend it." David doesn't react to your words at first. He just nods slowly, looking at you with a cold stare. "I understand. But be careful. You never know who might be watching." With that, he turns and walks away without another word, leaving you standing in the doorway, his warning echoing in your mind. You close the door and lock it behind you, still trying to process the interaction. Everything about him felt calculated. The calm tone, the vague statements, the way he carefully skirted around real issues. It's clear now, someone somewhere is trying to scare you off. But who?
And why?
That afternoon, you drive down to the local sheriff's office to report what happened. You explain about David's visit and the unsettling note you received. The deputy behind the counter listens carefully, scribbling notes on his pad. After a few minutes, he looks up, his expression serious. "We've had a few reports like this lately. People trying to make claims on properties they don't own. It's usually tied to someone wanting to either buy the land or take control of it through intimidation. We're keeping an eye on it. But for now, keep documenting everything, the markers, the notes, the visit from this investigator. If they try anything else, we'll be ready." You leave the station feeling both reassured and more unsettled than ever. This isn't just about Karen or the HOA anymore. This is something bigger. And as you drive back home, you can't help but feel like this is the calm before the storm. Over the next few days, the sense of unease continues to grow. You hear more rumors from the few neighbors who are still speaking to you, but it's all secondhand. People are whispering about a new development on the other side of the lake, some project that no one has the full details about. But it's clear, whatever's going on, it's connected to your land. And you're no longer just a neighbor. You're in the middle of something much bigger. The quiet life you imagined is slipping away, replaced by a relentless struggle for control over a piece of land you thought was safely yours. But you won't back down. Not now, not ever. It's time to take action. It's time to uncover the truth and stop whoever is trying to take everything from you. Because this fight, it's just beginning. In the following days, the unease doesn't fade. It grows, twisting around you like a fog that refuses to lift. Every time you step outside, you catch yourself glancing over your shoulder, wondering if someone's watching you, waiting for the right moment to strike. The markers have continued to appear near your property, each one pushing closer and closer to the edge of your land, like a game of territorial chess. And while you've called the sheriff and documented everything, you can't help but feel like the situation is quickly spiraling out of control. Then it happens. You're out for a walk by the lake when you see it. At first, it's just a shadow in the distance, partially obscured by the trees. But as you get closer, the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. The sight of a small boat, a dark, unmarked vessel, floats eerily near the far side of the lake. It's barely visible, blending into the water, but you know immediately that it doesn't belong here. The lake is quiet. You've never seen anyone out here without a reason, especially not someone who chooses to remain unseen. You freeze for a moment, staring at the boat. There's no movement from it, just the stillness of the water. Something's off. Without thinking, you turn on your heel and make your way back toward the house, your mind racing. Was it someone from the neighborhood? Or is this yet another part of the strange puzzle that's been building around your property? You don't waste any time. You reach for your phone and dial the sheriff's office. The line rings once, twice, before a familiar voice picks up. Sheriff's office, the deputy says, his voice calm. I need you to send someone to the lake right now. You say, your voice sharp. There's a boat out there. It's not supposed to be there. I don't know who's in it, but I've been having trouble with my property being marked, and this just doesn't feel right. The deputy hesitates for a moment, then responds, stay inside. We'll send someone to check it out. Don't approach the boat, and don't go near it. You hang up the phone, your heart pounding in your chest. The idea of just sitting here, waiting, feels wrong. Every instinct in your body screams at you to do something, anything, but you force yourself to sit still. The boat lingers in your mind, its dark silhouette haunting you. After what feels like an eternity, the sheriff's deputy finally arrives. He pulls up to your driveway with the lights flashing, his truck a beacon in the quiet, still air. You walk outside to meet him, and he doesn't waste time. Do you have any idea who's been out on the lake? He asks, glancing out toward the water. Any idea what they're doing? No, you answer, shaking your head. I've never seen them before. But the boat. You gesture toward the lake. It wasn't there last night. Something's definitely wrong. The deputy nods and gets out of the truck, grabbing his binoculars from the front seat. He begins scanning the far side of the lake, his gaze sharp, scanning for any sign of life. You follow his lead, anxiously glancing between the deputy and the water. A few minutes pass, but then the deputy lowers the binoculars and looks back at you. That's strange. The boat's gone now. Not a sign of it anywhere. You blink, confused. What do you mean gone? It was just there. I don't know. It could have moved out of view. It's strange, though, that it wasn't reported by anyone else. But we'll keep an eye on things, don't worry. His voice is reassuring, but it doesn't erase the unease growing inside of you. You can't shake the feeling that whatever is happening, whatever this is, it's only getting worse. Are you sure we're safe? You ask, the question slipping out before you can stop it. He gives you a sympathetic look. You're not the only one who's been dealing with strange occurrences around here. There's been talk in town about people showing up at properties, marking them, trying to force people out. We'll look into it. It doesn't give you the peace of mind you need, but you nod, grateful that someone's at least acknowledging the situation. The deputy heads back to his truck after a few more moments of scanning the water, but before he leaves, he turns to you one last time. Just stay vigilant. Let us know if anything else happens. You watch as his truck pulls away, the sheriff's truck disappearing around the corner. The boat's gone, and the situation is still shrouded in mystery, but you know now that you can't trust anyone to handle this for you. You need to get to the bottom of it. That night, sleep doesn't come easily. Every creak of the house feels louder than it should. Every gust of wind feels like a warning. But you keep telling yourself, you've survived this long. You'll survive whatever comes next. Then, the next morning, something unexpected happens. You hear a knock at the door. It's a soft, rhythmic tapping, almost hesitant, as if someone isn't sure if they should be here. You open the door cautiously. Standing there is someone you haven't seen before, an older man, perhaps in his mid-60s, with a graying beard and a weathered look about him. He wears a plaid shirt and boots, and his eyes are sharp, scanning you for any signs of resistance. He doesn't look like he's from around here. "Can I help you?" you ask, trying to hide your suspicion. The man looks at you with a quiet intensity. "I don't want trouble. Just need to talk." "Is that all right?" You hesitate, but something about him doesn't seem threatening. "Okay, what do you want?" "I'm here to tell you something important. Something you might want to know before it's too late," he says, his voice low and grave. You step back, motioning for him to come in. This could be another game, another part of the puzzle, but you're willing to listen. You need to know who's behind this and why they're trying to take what's yours. He steps inside, and as you close the door behind him, he begins to speak. And with each word, the truth begins to unravel. As the man steps inside, you can feel the weight of his presence. There's an air of urgency about him, and despite his calm demeanor, something tells you this is no casual visit. He surveys the room quickly, like someone who's used to moving through unfamiliar spaces, then turns back to face you, his expression steady. "You're not going to like what I'm about to tell you," he says, his voice gravelly, as if the words have been stuck in his throat for a long time. You hold your breath, trying to stay calm. "Then why don't you tell me, and let me decide?" He nods slowly, almost as if acknowledging your resolve, and then sits down without waiting for you to offer him a chair. It's a small, deliberate move that feels more like a challenge than a request. He takes a deep breath before continuing, his eyes not leaving yours. "You've been dealing with more than just Karen," he begins. "She's a pawn in a much bigger game. This is about land, not just yours, but the entire area around this lake." You feel a sudden unease. "The lake, your property. What does he mean by the entire area?" You try to keep your voice even as you ask, "What are you talking about? And who are you?" The man finally looks away, a faint frown crossing his face, as if he's debating whether to say more. "I'm an investigator of sorts, but not for the sheriff or anyone else you've spoken to. I've been tracking movements around here for a while. That boat you saw? It's part of something much bigger than a few land grabs. It's part of a private project, an underground initiative that's been buying up land secretly, quietly, and they're aiming to take control of everything around the lake, including yours." Your heart starts to pound. This isn't just about some entitled neighbors anymore. There's something much more sinister at play. "Why are they targeting me?" you ask, struggling to wrap your mind around the implications. The man sighs, rubbing his hand across his forehead as if he's been carrying this burden for too long. "It's not personal. They need your land to complete their plans. They've been looking for people who don't have the means or the support to fight back, and they're buying properties under the radar, using backdoor deals, threats, and intimidation to force people out." You take a step back, your mind reeling. A secret project? A hidden land grab? How could you have missed all of this? How could Karen or anyone be involved in something so massive? Who's behind it? Who's pulling the strings? You ask, barely able to keep the tremor out of your voice. "That's the problem," the man replies, his voice softening. "They keep their identities hidden, using people like Karen as fronts. They know if they can get control of the land around the lake, they can flip it for millions. They want to develop this whole area into a private resort, a gated community, or something worse. But to do that, they need to remove everyone who's in their way." His words hang in the air, thick with a sense of dread. You feel the walls closing in, as though the world is shrinking around you. Your property, the land you've fought so hard to protect, is at the center of something you never saw coming. "And Karen?" you ask, your mind struggling to keep pace with the revelations. "She's in on it?" The man chuckles darkly, though it's not a laugh of amusement. Karen's just one of their tools. She doesn't know everything. She's been promised her piece of the pie if she can force people out. She's just trying to make herself useful, manipulating the people who live here, pretending she has the power to control things. You stare at the man, your anger rising, mixing with a sense of betrayal. So, Karen and her HOA weren't the real problem after all. They're just distractions. Exactly, he confirms. They're part of the larger plan, but they don't even know it. You've been dealing with the wrong enemy. You sit down at the kitchen table, your hands shaking. What do I do now? How do I stop them? The man looks at you with a kind of grim understanding. That's why I'm here. I'm not just some random investigator. I've been tracking this operation for years. I've seen how they operate, how they move from one place to the next, buying land under fake names, using intimidation to drive people out. And I've seen how they've targeted places like this lake because of its location, its potential. He leans forward, his eyes narrowing. You're not alone in this, but you need to act fast. If you don't, you'll lose everything. The next step is for them to escalate. They've been trying to wear you down. They'll go after your neighbors next, create more chaos, until they have enough power to push through their development plans. The only way to stop them is to expose them, and fast. But you have to be careful. These people don't like being exposed. You take a moment to digest the enormity of what he's just laid out. Your mind is still racing. A secret land grab, a hidden agenda that's been going on right under your nose. It feels like something out of a movie. But this is real. And now you have a choice. You can either fight back, risking everything, or walk away and let them win. I'm not going anywhere, you say finally, your voice steady, more determined than ever. I'm going to fight. I'm going to expose them. The man nods approvingly, his expression softening just a bit.
Good.
You're going to need allies, though. People who are already aware of their tactics. I've got a few contacts who can help. But the longer you wait, the harder it'll be. You need to move quickly. Before you can respond, he stands up. I'll get in touch with you soon. Keep everything documented. Don't trust anyone who's been involved with these people. Not even your neighbors. And remember, they're watching. Always watching. You watch him leave, feeling the weight of what you've just learned. This isn't just about your land anymore. This is a battle for something much bigger. The fight for your home is now tied to a larger conspiracy, and it's time for you to take the gloves off. You've already faced Karen, but what's coming now is going to be far more dangerous than anything you've encountered so far. As you stand in the doorway, the reality sinks in. The lake that you've fought so hard to claim as your own? It's now the front line of a war that could change everything. But you're ready. You've come this far. And you're not about to back down now. The weight of the situation settles heavily on your shoulders as the mysterious investigator's words echo in your mind. You stand there in the doorway, staring out into the quiet morning, and for a moment, you question everything you thought you knew. The peace of the lake, the life you had carved out for yourself. All of it feels fragile now, teetering on the brink of collapse. You can't afford to wait. The man's warning about their escalation strikes a nerve. If you don't act fast, they'll have complete control over your land, and who knows how many others. But where do you start? Who can you trust? The sheriff, the HOA, even your neighbors. Everyone could be part of the conspiracy, or they could be easily manipulated. You're alone in this, surrounded by people who may not even realize what's happening. You decide to take the first step. Find your allies. People who won't be swayed by intimidation. People who are as invested in keeping the land safe as you are. The first person you think of is Lisa, a neighbor who has always seemed genuinely kind, though she's kept her distance from the chaos caused by Karen and the HOA. She's lived here for years, knows the land, and she's the kind of person who takes her home and the environment seriously. If anyone understands what's at stake, it's her. You dial her number, feeling a mix of hope and nerves. The phone rings a few times before she picks up, and there's a slight hesitation in her voice when she answers. Hello. Hey, Lisa, it's your name, you say quickly, trying to keep the urgency from your voice. Listen, I need your help. I've learned some things, and I don't know who else to trust right now. Do you have a minute? There's a pause on the other end, then a soft sigh. I've been waiting for you to call. You're not the only one noticing things around here. What's going on? You explain everything. The mysterious markers, the cryptic notes, the visit from the so-called investigator, and the dark conspiracy brewing behind the scenes. Lisa listens carefully, and when you finish, she doesn't ask questions or try to downplay it. Instead, her voice hardens with resolve. I knew something wasn't right, she says, almost to herself. I've seen the same things. The signs are all there. I've been quiet because I didn't know who to trust either. But this is too big to ignore. Relief floods over you. It's not just you against the world anymore. Lisa's on your side. Thank you, you say, your voice breaking the tension. I need to know more. How can we stop this? We start by digging deeper, she replies. There are some old records at the county office that might have more information. If we can tie these people to land purchases, property deeds, anything, we might be able to prove that they're operating under false pretenses. You agree to meet her later that day. You can't waste any more time, and you know that Lisa's right. Finding concrete evidence is the only way to make them back off. As you hang up the phone, you feel a slight flicker of hope for the first time in days. You've got a plan. The afternoon drags as you prepare for your meeting with Lisa. You make sure to lock up the house, double-checking all windows and doors. The air is thick with tension as you wait for Lisa's car to pull up. Every time a car drives by, your heart skips a beat. You can't help but feel that someone is watching. But eventually, her familiar blue sedan pulls into the driveway, and you exhale, pushing the anxiety aside. Let's do this, Lisa says as she gets out of the car, her face set in determination. The two of you head to the local county office, a small, unassuming building just on the edge of town. You walk inside and approach the desk, where a bored-looking clerk greets you with a disinterested glance. We're here to look up land records, specifically for properties near the lake, Lisa says, her tone polite but firm. The clerk looks up, eyeing the two of you skeptically. You'll need to fill out a request form and wait. It'll be a few hours. Lisa doesn't hesitate. We're in a bit of a rush. Is there any way we can get in sooner? We need information about specific properties. It's urgent. The clerk sighs but finally nods, reluctantly pulling out the forms. You fill them out quickly, your hands barely able to steady themselves. After what feels like an eternity, the clerk finally hands over the requested documents. You and Lisa huddle over the records, scanning through them quickly. The names listed for the land purchases are suspiciously vague, often linked to generic business addresses or shell companies. Nothing that leads you to the people you're looking for. But then you find it. One name, buried under pages of paperwork, stands out: Eastwood Holdings. It's listed as the legal owner of several properties around the lake, including your own. But here's the thing, there's no record of who owns Eastwood Holdings. Just an address, a P.O. box, and a phone number that leads to a dead end. Lisa's eyes widen as she reads over your shoulder. This is it. They're operating through shell companies to hide their real identities. No one would think to look at this, but they've been buying up everything around here, setting up a huge development project. You feel a sense of dread creeping in. Eastwood Holdings? You've never heard of it before. It's a phantom entity designed to make sure no one knows who's pulling the strings. But now you have a name, and that's a start. What do we do now? You ask, looking at Lisa. She bites her lip, thinking. We need to trace Eastwood Holdings. Find out who's behind it. If we can expose them, we can stop the project before it goes any further. But we have to be careful. Whoever's running this operation won't hesitate to shut us down. You nod, the weight of what's ahead pressing down on you. But you're in this now. There's no turning back. The fight for your home, for your land, is just beginning. And you're not going to let them win. The discovery of Eastwood Holdings feels like a small victory, but the more you sit with the information, the more you realize just how deep this web goes. A phantom company, buying up properties around the lake, pulling strings without anyone knowing who's really in charge. This isn't just some local land grab. This is something bigger. Someone with power, resources, and influence is behind it, and now You and Lisa are standing on the edge of something much darker than you expected. After gathering all the documents, you leave the county office and head back to your place.
You don't talk much on the way there.
Your mind is spinning, trying to piece together the puzzle, but it feels like you're still missing something crucial. Who's behind Eastwood Holdings? And why the lake? What makes this place so valuable? Once back at your house, you and Lisa sit down to lay out your findings. The air between you is thick with anticipation. The sun is starting to set, casting long shadows across the floor. You're not just dealing with Karen anymore. This is a full-scale conspiracy, and it's targeting everything you've worked for. We need to find out who's behind Eastwood Holdings, Lisa says, her tone firm but tinged with frustration. This P.O. box, it's a dead end, and I'm guessing the phone number won't get us anywhere either. But there has to be something we can track. Some connection. Someone with a name we can follow. You sit there, tapping your fingers on the table, thinking. Then it hits you.
The boat.
The mysterious boat you saw floating near the lake. You remember that eerie sense of being watched. The boat had no markings, no clear indication of who was in it, but it felt deliberate, like a warning. They're hiding in plain sight, you say, your voice barely above a whisper. They've been using the lake for something. Maybe it's not just about the land. Maybe they've been conducting business out there, using the water as a cover. Lisa looks at you, eyes narrowing. What do you mean? I think the boat is part of this. You continue. It's not just some random thing. What if they're meeting on the water? Keeping everything out of sight while they make deals, hide information, or track people. Lisa's expression turns thoughtful. That's risky. If they're using the lake as their meeting place, it makes sense. But it's also clever. Who would think to look there? We need to get out on the lake, you say, feeling the urgency now. We need to know what they're doing. If we can catch them in the act, it could be the break we need. But we have to be careful. Whoever's behind this will stop at nothing to protect their interests. Lisa nods. Agreed. Let's figure out a plan. The following evening, just as the sun dips below the horizon, you and Lisa prepare to head out on the water. The plan is simple. Keep things quiet, stay low, and find out what's going on. You both meet at the dock, where Lisa has borrowed a small boat from a friend who works at a nearby marina. The boat is unmarked, just a simple rowboat with an outboard motor, nothing flashy, nothing that will attract attention. You both climb into the boat, and as Lisa starts the engine, you glance around nervously. The air is thick with tension. It feels like you're stepping into a different world, one that you've only seen from the shore. The lake stretches out before you, calm and still, reflecting the fading light of the sky. The eerie quiet is almost unnerving. As you drift further from the shore, you notice a faint glow in the distance, just past a cluster of trees along the far side of the lake. The boat from before, the one you'd seen earlier, is back, anchored just out of sight. It's barely visible from the shore, tucked away in a small cove. But you know it's there. This is the place they've been hiding, the place where deals are made and plans are set in motion. Lisa cuts the engine as you near the cove, and the boat drifts silently on the water. You both sit in the darkness, waiting. It's nearly impossible to see anything, but you can feel the tension hanging in the air. It's only a matter of time before someone shows up. Suddenly, you hear the faint hum of another motor in the distance. You turn your head, and in the dim light, you can just make out the shape of another boat moving toward the cove. It's hard to tell who's in it, but you know they're coming. Your heart races in your chest. This is it, the moment of truth. The boat pulls up alongside the anchored one, and you can see shadowy figures moving between the two vessels. There's a brief exchange of words, but the voices are too low to make out the conversation. They're careful, deliberate. They don't want anyone to hear. But you can't help but feel like you've stumbled into something far bigger than you ever imagined. Then, as the boat begins to pull away, you catch a glimpse of something that makes your blood run cold. A briefcase. It's passed from one boat to the other, and as it moves, you see the glint of metal, documents, maybe, or some kind of plan. Whatever it is, it's being exchanged under the cover of darkness. And, you know, deep down, that it's not just about property anymore. It's something more dangerous, something that could have serious consequences if it gets into the wrong hands. Did you see that? You whisper to Lisa, your voice barely audible. She nods, her eyes wide with shock. That's not just a deal. It's something bigger. They're hiding something. Something they don't want anyone to find out. You sit in stunned silence, watching as the boat fades into the distance, the briefcase still clutched tightly in someone's hands. Lisa starts the engine, and you slowly make your way back to shore. The cove and the boats are out of sight now, but the weight of what you've seen presses heavily on your chest. You've just witnessed something that could change everything, but you don't know yet how deep the rabbit hole goes. What's in that briefcase? What are they planning next? And how much are you willing to risk to stop? As the boat pulls back to shore, your heart is still pounding, the adrenaline from what you just witnessed surging through your veins. The briefcase exchange, the secrecy, the sense of something sinister unfolding beneath the surface, it's all far more than you imagined. It's no longer just about fighting for your land. It's about something that could affect far more than just your home. The realization hits you like a ton of bricks. This is bigger than you thought. Much bigger. When you reach the dock, you and Lisa sit in silence for a moment, both of you processing the gravity of what you just witnessed. The briefcase is burned into your mind. What was in it? What was being hidden? And who else is involved? We need to find out what was in that briefcase, Lisa says finally, breaking the silence. Her voice is steady, but you can hear the underlying tension. That's the next step. Whatever's in there, it's the key. You nod. But how do we get our hands on it? They're not just going to leave it lying around for us to find. Lisa exhales sharply. No, but we might have a way in. If we can find out where they're keeping their records, we might be able to get a glimpse at what they're hiding. If there's a warehouse, a storage unit, anywhere they're keeping documents, we might be able to break in, gather the information, and get it to the authorities. We can't let them just get away with this. The plan makes sense, but the thought of breaking into a potentially dangerous operation makes your stomach churn. It's a risky move, one that could backfire in ways you can't even imagine. But what choice do you have? You're already in too deep. You can't just sit back and wait for them to take everything from you. Okay, you say, your voice tight. We'll do it.
But we need to be smart about it.
We can't go in all guns blazing. We have to have a plan. Lisa nods, her face serious. We'll need to gather more intel first. Figure out where they're storing everything, who's involved, and what we're up against. It's a big risk, but if we don't do something now, we might lose everything. The next few days are filled with tension. You and Lisa work together, trying to piece together the next steps. You follow the faintest trails of information, piecing together scraps of gossip from the few neighbors you trust. The quiet murmurs of workers at the docks, hushed whispers from the local businesses. It's all starting to come together. And then one afternoon it happens. Lisa calls you with urgent news. I've got something. A lead. There's a warehouse just off Route 38, about 10 miles out of town. People say it's connected to Eastwood Holdings. It's out of the way, but it's big enough to be used for storage. And it's been on the radar of a few locals who've been asking questions. Your heart skips a beat. This could be it, the break you've been looking for. Do you think they're keeping the documents there? I'm not sure, but it's our best shot, Lisa replies. We need to check it out. You don't hesitate. You can't. This could be the moment that changes everything. You and Lisa head out the next evening, driving in the dark, away from the safety of your home and into unknown territory. The road feels endless, the trees closing in on either side, and every turn feels like it's leading you further into the heart of something dangerous. The night is eerily quiet, with only the hum of the engine filling the silence. When you finally arrive at the warehouse, you feel a strange mixture of fear and excitement. It's an imposing structure, large and industrial-looking, set back from the road with only a few lights illuminating its perimeter. No signs, no markings, just a cold, uninviting building. It's exactly what you'd expect from a place that's hiding something. You park at a distance, away from the few scattered vehicles in the lot. It's late, and the place is quiet. No movement, no signs of life. We should wait until everyone leaves, you say, your voice low. We need to be sure no one's inside. Lisa nods, her eyes scanning the building as she leans against the car. I agree. The last thing we want is to get caught. We wait for about an hour, see if anyone leaves, and then we move in. The minutes drag by, each one feeling longer than the last. The night air is thick with tension, every rustle of a branch making you jump. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, the lights inside flicker, and you see a few figures walking toward a car, leaving the parking lot. The warehouse is suddenly still, and you know this is your chance. This is it, Lisa says, her voice steady. Let's go. You both move quickly, staying low, darting between shadows as you approach the warehouse. There's a side door, slightly ajar, leading into a dimly lit hallway. You exchange a glance, then slip inside, moving as silently as possible. The air inside smells musty, stale, like it hasn't been disturbed in years. You move deeper into the building, passing rows of old crates and stacks of boxes. Your heart is racing as you realize just how vast this operation is.
There's no way this is just about land.
Whatever's inside these walls is much more than that. Finally, you come across a secured room at the far end of the warehouse. The door is locked, but you can see a faint light inside. You and Lisa exchange a glance. This could be it, the place where they're keeping their secrets. Lisa pulls a small set of tools from her bag and begins working on the lock. Every second feels like an eternity. Finally, with a soft click, the door swings open. Inside, it's like a different world. Rows of filing cabinets, stacks of papers, and crates filled with who knows what. But what catches your eye immediately is a set of large binders stacked in the corner, all labeled with the same name, Eastwood Holdings. You know what you have to do. You grab one of the binders, opening it carefully to reveal the documents inside. The pages are filled with property details, contracts, and names. Names of people involved in the operation, addresses of properties, hidden ownerships. This is the smoking gun. But then you hear it, footsteps approaching from the hallway. Your heart stops. You freeze. The sound of approaching footsteps is unmistakable. Someone's coming. The tension has reached its peak, with everything on the line. You've broken into the warehouse and found the documents you need, but now the danger is real. Someone's about to catch you, and the sound of footsteps echoes down the hallway, growing louder and closer. Your heart races, and the air in the warehouse feels suffocating. You glance at Lisa, her face pale, eyes wide with panic. She nods, signaling you to move quickly, and the two of you scramble to find a hiding place. You don't have much time. You quickly duck behind a stack of crates, the binder still clutched tightly in your hands. Lisa crouches beside you, her breathing shallow. The footsteps stop for a moment, and the tension is unbearable. You try to steady your nerves, but every sound, every creak in the building makes you flinch. The footsteps resume, and you hold your breath, praying that whoever it is doesn't notice the open door or the noise you've made. The figure passes by your hiding spot, and you can see a silhouette moving past the faint glow of the hallway light. You dare a glance, and your heart skips a beat as you recognize the figure. It's the same man from the lake, the one who'd been involved in the boat exchange. The one you'd seen with the briefcase. He's wearing a dark jacket and carrying a flashlight. His eyes scan the room as he steps into the warehouse, moving methodically, as though he knows exactly what he's looking for. Stay quiet, Lisa whispers under her breath. You can feel the heat of her body next to yours, but there's no room to move without being noticed. The man stops just a few feet from where you're crouched, and for a moment, you think your heart might stop. He mutters something to himself, something you can't quite make out, and starts walking toward the back of the warehouse, further away from your hiding spot. You exhale slowly, but you're still not safe. You know you can't stay here much longer. Lisa's hand tightens on your arm, and you give her a look. There's no question now. You have to get out, and fast. You wait until the man moves further into the warehouse, disappearing around the corner. The second he's out of view, Lisa motions to you. The two of you rise, moving as silently as possible toward the back door. You glance over at the open binder in your hands, the documents still spilling out. You have everything you need, but the risk has escalated. There's no time to sort through it now. You reach the back door, and Lisa pushes it open just a crack. You look out into the dark parking lot. It's empty. No cars. No one's watching. For now, you're safe. Let's go, you whisper. You slip outside, the cool night air hitting your skin like a wave of relief. You move quickly, making your way to the car, your heart still pounding in your chest. Lisa starts the engine, and as the car pulls away, you glance in the rearview mirror, watching the warehouse fade into the distance. You've done it. You've gotten the documents. But the danger isn't over yet. Whoever is behind this operation is too powerful, too connected. The moment you expose them, they'll come after you, and everyone you care about. You can feel it in your bones. The road back feels endless. Your mind races, trying to process everything you've just learned. Who are these people? What do they want with all this land? And how far are they willing to go to get it? Lisa breaks the silence as you drive. We've got the documents. Now we need to get them into the right hands. We have to be careful. The authorities can't ignore this. But if we go public, we risk putting a target on our backs. You nod, your mind already running through the possibilities. We need to go to someone we trust. The right people. The ones who can protect us and everyone else involved in this. We can't let them cover this up. Lisa looks at you, her expression grim. We'll need to move fast. The longer we wait, the more time they have to cover their tracks. They won't stop, not after everything we've seen. You nod again, your grip tightening on the binder. It's everything you've fought for, and it's just the beginning. The documents are a key to unraveling everything, but they're also a weapon, one that could destroy everything you've worked for if they fall into the wrong hands. As you approach the edge of town, you feel the weight of what's ahead. You're about to make the biggest decision of your life. The people behind this operation will stop at nothing to keep their secrets, and now, you're at the center of it all. They'll come after you, but you can't let that stop you. You can't let them win. This fight is no longer just about property. It's about exposing the truth, no matter the cost. You drive through the darkened streets, the weight of the binder in your lap growing heavier with each passing moment. You know the stakes have never been higher. And then, just as you're about to turn the corner onto your street, a flash of headlights blinds you from behind. The car speeds up, closing in fast. You don't have time to react. The car slams into the back of yours, throwing you forward with a violent jolt. The crash knocks the wind out of you. The impact is hard enough to send your vision spinning, and everything around you blurs. The seatbelt digs into your chest, but you can barely register the pain. You manage to slam your foot on the brake as the car skids to a halt. Everything goes quiet, too quiet. Your heart is racing, and you struggle to stay focused. You can't afford to lose your grip now. Not when you're so close to the truth. You glance over at Lisa. She's unconscious, her head resting against the window. You can't afford to wait. You have to move. With shaky hands, you reach for the door, pushing it open. The night air hits you like a shock, but there's no time to waste. You pull Lisa out of the car, dragging her toward the nearest alley. You can't hear anything over the pounding in your head, but you know they'll be coming. The sound of footsteps in the distance, heavy, deliberate, sends a chill down your spine. They're here. And now, it's a race against time. Everything has reached a boiling point. The stakes couldn't be higher, and your fight to expose the conspiracy has led to a violent confrontation. You're no longer just fighting for your land. You're fighting for your life. Let me know how you want to proceed, and how you'd like to unfold this thrilling finale. The alley is dark and narrow, the air thick with tension. Every footstep, every movement feels amplified as you drag Lisa's unconscious body toward the shadowed safety of the alley's corner. Your heart pounds in your chest, the echo of the crash still ringing in your ears. You have no idea who's in the car that hit you, but it's clear. They don't want you walking away from this. You crouch down beside Lisa, trying to steady your breath, and you check her pulse. She's breathing, shallow, but steady. For now, that's the only thing that matters. You glance over your shoulder, trying to gauge how far ahead you can get before they catch up. But the pounding of footsteps grows louder, and the sound of a car door slamming echoes through the alley. You don't have much time.
Panic sets in.
You need to move fast, but you can't leave Lisa behind. You know you can't fight this battle on your own, especially now that the stakes have escalated. Your hands shake as you pull out your phone, dialing the only number you know will get help, your lawyer, the one person who might be able to protect you from whatever's about to happen. The phone rings twice, and you can barely hear the ringing over the noise of your pulse in your ears. Finally, the line clicks, and your lawyer's voice comes through, rough and sleepy. "This better be good," he mutters, clearly not expecting an emergency call at this hour. "It's me," you say, trying to keep your voice steady. "I need help. We've been hit. Someone's trying to stop us from exposing Eastwood Holdings. They crashed into our car. Lisa's knocked out. I don't know who's coming after us, but I need you to get us out of here, now." There's a long pause on the other end of the line. You can feel the gravity of the situation sink in. "Where are you?" he asks sharply, his voice suddenly more alert. You quickly tell him the nearest intersection, your heart still racing as you check for any sign of movement in the alley. "I'll send someone. Stay put. Don't go anywhere until they get there. You need protection." The line goes dead before you can respond, and you push the phone back into your pocket, your eyes darting down the alley. The footsteps are getting closer. Too close now. You don't have much time. Suddenly, you hear a voice in the distance, low, menacing. It's unmistakable. "Where are they?" the voice demands. "I know they're here." You freeze, your pulse quickening. It's one of them. The people behind the operation, the ones pulling the strings. The ones you've been trying to expose. The footsteps stop just ahead, and you see a figure emerge from the darkness, holding a flashlight. He shines it down the alley, searching for you. You can't make out his features, but you know he's dangerous. His gaze scans the alley, flicking over the shadows where you're hiding. You hold your breath, hoping to stay unseen. The figure takes another step forward, but just as he moves past your hiding spot, you hear the screech of tires in the distance. The man pauses, his head snapping toward the sound. It's distant, but the sharp screech of a car's tires signals someone's approach. The man hesitates. Then, just as quickly, he turns and sprints toward the street. You have seconds. With adrenaline flooding your system, you move. You grab Lisa, hoisting her carefully into your arms. The last thing you want is to drag her further into danger, but there's no other choice. You race toward the back of the alley, your legs screaming as you push yourself forward. Every step feels heavier, but you can't stop now. You can't afford to be caught. As you round the corner, you see headlights speeding toward you. A car pulls up just in time and the door swings open. "Get in," your lawyer's voice calls out from inside. You don't need to be told twice. You slide into the back seat, Lisa still unconscious in your arms. The car doors slam shut, and the engine roars to life as it speeds away, the tires screeching against the asphalt. The city lights blur by, but your mind is still racing, trying to piece together what's just happened. The crash, the pursuit, and now the car pulling you away to safety. But you know this is just the beginning. Whoever is behind Eastwood Holdings won't stop. Not until they've erased every trace of their operation. And that includes you. You're safe for now, your lawyer says, glancing in the rearview mirror. But you need to understand something. This is bigger than we thought. They'll come after you again. They'll want to silence you, to make sure you never get those documents to the authorities. You look at Lisa, her head resting against your shoulder. "What do we do now?" "We take those documents straight to the press," your lawyer replies, his voice unwavering. "But we can't just hand them over. We need protection, and we need to go public with this before they have a chance to erase the evidence. The press can protect us. They can't hide what's been happening under the cover of darkness if the world knows." You nod, your mind working fast. The press. It's a risky move, but it's the only one that will expose the conspiracy for what it is. You can't let this go on. You can't let them take everything from you. "We'll do it," you say, your voice full of resolve. "We'll expose them. We'll make sure everyone knows what they've been doing." The stakes have reached their peak, with a dramatic escape and the decision to go public with everything you've uncovered. The fight for the truth is on, But the dangers are only just beginning. The people behind Eastwood Holdings are relentless, and now the race is on to get the information out before they can erase it all. What happens next? As the car speeds through the quiet streets, you feel a strange sense of urgency mixed with determination. The darkness outside is almost suffocating, but the promise of exposing the conspiracy, of finally shedding light on what Eastwood Holdings has been doing, keeps you moving forward. You glance down at Lisa, her face pale, her breathing shallow but steady. You know she's just as invested in this as you are, but right now, she's helpless, and it's on you to make sure everything she's fought for isn't in vain. You and your lawyer discuss the next steps in low, urgent voices. The road ahead is uncertain, but one thing is clear. You're going to need every ounce of support you can gather. We'll need to go to a trusted journalist, your lawyer says, glancing at you through the rearview mirror. Someone who can protect us, someone who has connections with people who can make sure this information doesn't disappear. I've got a contact at the Sentinel, a journalist who's been digging into corporate corruption for years. If anyone can make sure this gets out to the public, it's them. You nod, your thoughts running at full speed. You've already put so much on the line. Everything you've fought for. You've come this far, and you can't stop now. We need to get there before they realize what we're doing. Before they come for us. Exactly, your lawyer says. We need to get ahead of them. They'll have resources, power, and connections. But if we can get the media involved, we can make sure they have no choice but to back off. You try to steady your breath, glancing nervously out the window as the city lights blur past. The knot in your stomach is relentless. But there's no turning back. Whatever happens next, you're committed. When you arrive at your lawyer's office, you move quickly, all the way to the back room, away from any prying eyes. The binder with the damning documents is still clutched tightly in your hands. Your lawyer immediately begins making calls, while you set the binder down on a table, your mind spinning with the next steps. Okay, your lawyer says after a few minutes, I've reached out to my contact at the Sentinel. We're meeting them tomorrow morning. They'll come here and take the documents. From there, it's all about getting the story out. We'll move quickly, but you have to stay out of the public eye until we can guarantee your safety. You try to process what's happening. Tomorrow. The exposure. The press. Everything hinges on this moment. It could all come crashing down if you make one wrong move. What if they try to stop us? You ask, your voice sharp. Your lawyer looks at you, eyes cold and calculating. They will. That's why we need to get the story out as quickly as possible. The more people know, the harder it will be for them to silence us. We've got a good chance, but it's going to be a fight. The next morning arrives with an air of inevitability. The sun is just starting to rise, casting pale light into the room as you and Lisa prepare for the meeting with the journalist. Every step feels calculated, every movement laced with tension. You can't shake the feeling that you're on the edge of something huge, and there's no telling how it will play out. The knock on the door comes sooner than expected. Your lawyer nods at you, signaling for you to get ready. This is it. You take a deep breath and open the door to find a woman in her early 30s standing in front of you. She's dressed casually, but there's an intensity in her eyes, someone who's seen the darker side of corporate greed and knows how to dig deep into it. I'm Clara, she says, extending a hand, her grip firm. You must be the one who's been digging into Eastwood Holdings. What's all this about? You explain the situation briefly, telling her about the secretive company, the land grabs, and the briefcase exchange. You show her the documents, the contracts, and the names that tie everything together. You can see her eyes widen as she scans through the papers. She doesn't say much, but the look on her face tells you everything you need to know. She gets it. She understands the gravity of the situation. Okay, Clara says finally, after a long moment. This is big. Really big. And it's going to take more than just publishing an article. These people have deep pockets, and they'll do anything to keep their secrets safe. But if we get the right connections, we can expose them. You nod. We have to. This can't keep happening. She looks at you, her eyes narrowing in thought. I'll work with my team. We'll verify everything, cross-check the records, and get the story to the right people. But you can't stay here. The moment this hits the press, they'll be coming for you. You need to lay low for a while. You feel the weight of her words settle in your chest. You've been fighting for this moment, but now that it's here, the consequences are clearer than ever. The danger is real. These people will stop at nothing to protect their operation. And now that you've found the smoking gun, they'll do everything they can to erase it. We'll help you get to a safe location, Clara continues. But I need you to trust me. This is going to get ugly before it gets better. You've done your part. Now we take it to the world. The meeting with Clara marks the beginning of a new phase in your fight for justice. The documents are in the hands of a trusted journalist, and the story is going to hit the press. But it's also the point where things start to spiral. You know that the people behind Eastwood Holdings won't go down without a fight. And now, with your face exposed, there's no hiding. The stakes have never been higher. You and Lisa leave your lawyer's office, heading for a safe house, knowing that the real battle is about to begin. The press will break the story, but in the meantime, you'll have to stay one step ahead of the people who will do anything to silence you. Your mind races as the reality of everything you've uncovered hits you. You've fought for your home, but you've also stumbled into something far bigger than a simple land dispute. This is a fight for justice, for truth, and for the people who've been manipulated and exploited by those in power. And you're not going to stop until the safe house feels cold and sterile, but it's necessary. You can't afford to stay in your own home anymore, not with Eastwood Holdings now aware of what you've uncovered. The house you're hiding in is located in a remote area, tucked away from prying eyes. It's not much, but it's enough to keep you out of sight for now. Lisa has been quiet since you arrived. You know she's still processing everything that's happened and the magnitude of what you're about to face. She's always been the strong one, but even she's starting to feel the weight of the danger you're in. I still can't believe this is happening, she says, her voice barely above a whisper. She's sitting on the couch, staring at the blank TV screen as though expecting answers to appear there. You sit across from her, rubbing your eyes. The exhaustion is setting in now. All the sleepless nights, the adrenaline-fueled hours spent gathering evidence, the constant fear of being watched, it's starting to take its toll. I didn't want it to get this far. But we're in it now. We can't back down. Lisa looks at you, her eyes determined. I know. But I'm scared, you know? I've never been in something like this before. I don't know who to trust anymore. You don't say anything at first. You're scared too. You know that the moment this story breaks, your lives will be in jeopardy. You've seen the lengths Eastwood Holdings is willing to go to protect their secrets. You saw it in that briefcase, heard it in the whispers and threats. They won't stop until they've destroyed everything that could expose them. But you also know that it's too late to turn back now. The following day is tense. You wait, pacing, trying not to think about the consequences of what's coming. Every phone call feels like it could be the one that sets everything in motion. The media, the authorities, everyone who can help, they need to act fast. You know that once the story breaks, your every move will be watched. Finally, you hear from Clara. I've got the story ready, she says, her voice low and urgent. It's scheduled to go live in the next few hours. But listen, we've got a problem. The people behind Eastwood Holdings are already making moves to discredit you. They've got people in the right places. I don't need to tell you how dangerous this is. I'll be sending a team to protect you, but you need to keep your heads down. Stay off the radar until we get this out. You nod, though you know she can't see it. Just do it. Expose them. We'll be ready. The hours crawl by as you wait. You can barely sit still, your mind racing through every worst-case scenario. What if the story doesn't break the way you expect? What if they find you first? The possibilities feel endless, and none of them are comforting. The adrenaline rush of the last few weeks has worn off, leaving you with nothing but nerves. But then, just as the clock strikes 7 p.m., your phone rings again. It's Clara. Okay, it's live, she says. The story's out there now. It's on the Sentinel's website. The details are all there, Eastwood Holdings, the land grab, the shell companies, everything. I've already gotten word from a few outlets, they're picking it up. The pressure's on now. You feel a wave of relief, but it's short-lived. You know that what comes next will be the hardest part. Is the team on their way? You ask, your voice tight. They're on their way, Clara confirms. But you need to be ready for what comes next. They'll try to cover their tracks. They'll go after the people you've exposed. And they'll come for you. Stay alert. You hang up, the weight of her words sinking in. You've set the wheels in motion.
There's no stopping it now.
The night drags on, filled with the tension of waiting for something to happen. The silence of the safe house feels suffocating. You keep an eye on the news, watching as the first stories about Eastwood Holdings' shady dealings start to make their way across the screen. The information is out there now, but you're still in the dark, waiting for the backlash. You know the storm is coming. Suddenly, the silence is broken by the sound of a car pulling into the driveway. You tense, your hand instinctively going to your phone. A quick text from Clara confirms your suspicions. It's the security team she promised. You breathe a sigh of relief, but it's short-lived. The next few minutes feel like an eternity as you wait to see who's arrived. A knock on the door shatters the stillness. You open it to find a group of people in dark clothing, all wearing earpieces and carrying heavy-duty bags. Their eyes scan the room, sizing up the situation. "We're here to keep you safe," one of them says, his voice firm but professional. "Clara sent us. We need to get you out of here, now." You don't hesitate. You glance at Lisa, who's still on edge but now visibly relieved at the sight of the security team. You follow them to the car, but as you approach, you see something that makes your heart drop into your stomach. A black SUV is parked just down the road, its windows tinted. A shadowy figure steps out of the vehicle, their features obscured by the night. It's one of them, the people behind Eastwood Holdings. They're already on your trail.
Move.
Now, the security team member orders. You don't need to be told twice. As you pile into the vehicle, you feel the weight of what's happening sink in. The story is out. The exposure is real. But you've just started running, and you know this is far from over. The people behind this operation won't let you expose their secrets without a fight. You glance back at the SUV as it fades into the distance, the figure still watching. It's not over. You've just entered the next stage of the fight. As the car speeds down the darkened road, you glance out the rearview mirror, watching the black SUV trailing behind. It's not just a car anymore, it's a looming threat, a reminder that the people behind Eastwood Holdings will stop at nothing to silence you. The tension in the car is palpable, the only sound the low hum of the engine and the occasional crackle from the security team's earpieces. "Stay calm," one of the security officers says, his voice a steady anchor in the rising chaos. "We're getting you out of here. Just keep your head down and don't do anything to attract attention." You nod, but you can feel the adrenaline pulsing through your veins. This isn't just a game anymore. You've gone from the hunter to the hunted, and the people who have been pulling the strings are closing in on you. The reality of what you've done, exposing a powerful, ruthless operation, is finally settling in. You're not just fighting for your land anymore. You're fighting for your life. After a few tense moments, you notice the black SUV pulling off the main road, turning down an isolated street. Your stomach churns with the realization they've figured out where you're going. The safe house. They know. You murmur under your breath, your voice trembling with the weight of the situation. The lead security officer, who's been focused on the road ahead, swears under his breath and glances at the other team members. "We're going to have to take a detour. Hang on." The car veers off the road, heading into a less traveled area. The streets are narrow, and the trees on either side obscure the view. For a moment, it feels like you're disappearing into the shadows, but the threat of the SUV is still there, lurking just behind you. "You think they're tracking us?" Lisa whispers, her face pale but resolute. She's sitting next to you, her hand gripping the seat. "It's possible," you reply. "They won't just let this slide. They know we're onto them now. They'll do anything to stop us from getting this story out." Your thoughts swirl around the briefcase, the documents, and the truth about Eastwood Holdings. The deeper you've dug, the more you realize how tangled this operation really is. They've manipulated the system for so long, and now they're fighting to maintain control. The battle you're in now is not just about survival. It's about exposing them before they can erase the evidence and vanish into the shadows once more. "Take the next turn," the lead security officer orders, his voice tight with urgency. We'll head to a safe location. But before the car can make the turn, a loud bang echoes from behind. The SUV's headlights are blinding now, closing in fast. The sound of tires screeching fills the air as the black vehicle swerves into your lane. A shot rings out, the unmistakable sound of a gunshot. You flinch, your heart racing. They're shooting at us. Lisa gasps, her eyes wide with fear. The security officers spring into action. Get down, one of them yells, his hand grabbing the wheel to veer the car sharply to the left. The tires screech as they fight for control, narrowly avoiding a head-on collision. The car lurches, and for a moment, everything goes silent. You feel the weight of your body pressing into the seat as the world around you seems to slow down. Your mind is in a haze, but the reality of what's happening is crystal clear. They're trying to kill you.
They want to stop you from exposing them.
They won't stop until you're silenced. The car swerves again, narrowly dodging another shot from the pursuing SUV. It's too close now. The chase is escalating, and the safe house is no longer an option. You need to get off the road and out of their reach. We can't go to the safe house, one of the officers shouts. They'll be waiting for us. We need to lose them. Without another word, the lead officer pulls the car onto a deserted dirt road. The sound of gravel scraping beneath the tires fills the car as you bump along, the vehicle shaking under the strain. The SUV's headlights are still visible in the rearview mirror, but you're moving faster now, faster than you've ever gone before. The world around you is a blur of trees and darkness. The officer behind the wheel keeps glancing at the mirror, his jaw clenched in concentration. We're not losing them. They're too close. We need another plan. You feel the panic rise within you, but there's no time for fear. You have to think. Your mind races through every possible escape route, every option you can take. You can't outrun them forever. They'll track you down eventually, and if they catch you, it's over. The car bumps over another hill, and you glance ahead. There's a small abandoned building up ahead, a cabin of some sort. It's not much, but it's better than nothing. You have to take a chance. Pull into the cabin, you say, your voice steady despite the chaos. We can hide there. They won't find us if we wait it out. The officer doesn't hesitate. He turns the wheel sharply, guiding the car toward the cabin. You hold your breath as the vehicle slides to a stop in the overgrown yard, the headlights flickering off as the car idles in the darkness. The sound of the pursuing SUV grows louder, closer. You can almost feel the weight of their pursuit bearing down on you. But the cabin's tucked away, hidden from view. This is your shot. Stay here, one of the security officers says as he opens the door and slips out into the night. We'll scout ahead. You watch as the team moves quickly, their figures disappearing into the shadows. Your heart is in your throat, and you sit still, waiting, praying that the next few minutes won't be your last. The SUV passes by, headlights sweeping across the yard, and for a moment, you think they've spotted you. Your breath catches in your chest. But then the vehicle keeps moving. The sound of tires fades into the distance. You wait for what feels like an eternity before the officer returns. He signals for you to come out. Slowly, you open the door, your body stiff with tension, and step into the night. The cabin feels like a temporary haven, but it's enough for now. The security team sets up a perimeter around the building, but you know the danger isn't over. You've only bought yourself a few moments of safety. You can hear the faint hum of the SUV still somewhere in the distance. They won't stop. Not until they've gotten what they want. This isn't over, you say, looking at Lisa. We've exposed them, but we're not done. We can't rest yet. Lisa nods, her face tired but determined. We can't let them win.
Not now.
You look at the cabin. You've found temporary refuge, but you're not safe yet. The storm is still coming, and you're going to have to fight with everything you've... The cabin is quiet, too quiet. Every creak of the old wooden floorboards feels like an alarm, and every breeze that rattles through the trees outside sends a ripple of tension through your body. It's almost impossible to relax here. The night is thick with the kind of fear that sits in the pit of your stomach, gnawing at you. The team has set up a perimeter, watching the woods and the approach to the cabin. The sounds of the SUV have faded, but you know it's only a matter of time before they come back. And when they do, they'll come prepared. You sit on a dusty couch in the small living room, the binder containing the damning documents resting in your lap. You stare at it for a moment, feeling the weight of everything it represents. The conspiracy, the manipulation, the lies, it's all in there. And it's all yours to expose. Lisa sits across from you, her eyes tired, her mind clearly racing. "What now?" she asks softly, her voice full of uncertainty. You take a deep breath, trying to steady your nerves. You don't have all the answers, but you know one thing for sure. You can't let them win. Not now. Not after everything you've sacrificed. "We wait," you say, your voice low and steady. "But not for long. As soon as we know it's safe to move, we go to Clara. We need to get those documents into the hands of the right people, and then we push for public exposure. No more hiding." Lisa nods, but the worry in her eyes is undeniable. "And if they find us before we can get out? What then?" You meet her gaze, your resolve hardening. "Then we fight. We don't let them erase us. We don't let them destroy everything we've worked for." For a moment, the weight of your words hangs in the air. You know the stakes. You know how dangerous this is. But you also know that without action, nothing will change. Eastwood Holdings has spent years controlling everything, manipulating the system to their advantage. They've used fear and intimidation to carve out a kingdom for themselves, but you've just shattered the first crack in that foundation.
The truth is out now.
It's just a matter of making sure it sticks. Time passes slowly in the cabin. Every minute feels like an hour as you sit in silence, waiting for the next move. The team has set up a watch, but there's only so much they can do. The darkness feels endless, stretching into a vast void of uncertainty. You can hear the distant sound of wildlife, the occasional snap of a twig in the forest, but otherwise, there's nothing. No sign of pursuit.
Yet.
After what feels like an eternity, the team signals it's time to move. You grab the binder, making sure it's tightly secured in your bag. Lisa looks at you, eyes wide, but she says nothing. You both know there's no going back now. You walk outside, the night air cool and sharp, biting at your skin. The security team is already moving, ready to go. You pile into the car, and as you drive off, you glance in the rearview mirror, watching the cabin fade into the darkness. For a moment, you think about the safety you left behind. But that's not your life anymore. This is the fight of your life, and you've made your choice. The journey feels endless, the road winding through the quiet night. But soon, you're nearing the edge of town. The tension is thick in the car, everyone's silently aware that at any moment, you could be followed. You wonder how long you have before Eastwood Holdings catches up. How long you have before they try to stop everything. Just then your phone buzzes. It's a message from Clara. "We've got movement." Press is already picking up on the story. They're scrambling. "But be careful. We've had eyes on you since you left the cabin. They'll come after you harder now." Your blood runs cold. You've only just begun to expose them, and already they're trying to shut you down. "Lisa," you whisper, showing her the message. Her eyes widen, and for a moment, you both sit in stunned silence. The weight of Clara's words sinks in. They know you're a threat now. They'll stop at nothing to silence you. "We're going to need help," you say finally, your voice resolute. "We can't do this alone anymore." Lisa nods, her expression hardening. "I know. We'll go to Clara. We'll make sure this story gets out no matter what." The decision is made. You can't run forever. And you won't let them win. The following hours are a blur of tense moments, sharp turns, and distant voices on the radio. You make your way to the press office, where Clara has arranged for you to meet with a few trusted journalists. The ride there is quiet, but the air is thick with anticipation. When you finally arrive, Clara is waiting outside, her face a mask of professionalism but with a hint of worry. She ushers you inside quickly, where a team of reporters and photographers are already gathered. They're ready, the momentum of the story now fully behind you. "Listen carefully," Clara says, lowering her voice. "This is going to get messy. But the truth is out there now. We just need to keep the pressure on. They'll come after us, but we'll stand strong. You've got the documents. We've got the media. We can't let them silence us. You nod, feeling the weight of her words. This is it. This is where it all comes together. You fought for this moment. And now you have to be ready for the fallout. As you step in front of the cameras, the world feels like it's watching. You take a deep breath and step forward, ready to expose the truth once and for all. But as you do, you feel a shift. The press, the cameras, the people, they all seem to fade into the background. For the first time in days, everything feels real. The battle you're in isn't just about you. It's about everyone who's been wronged by Eastwood Holdings. It's about the people who've lost their land, their lives, and their homes. And now you're standing in front of the world, fighting for them. And you won't stop until they've been heard. The moment you step in front of the cameras, you can feel the weight of the world pressing down on you. The reporters' flashing lights seem to blur everything around you. The questions they throw your way feel like bullets. But you stand firm, holding the binder with the damning evidence in your hands. Clara stands beside you, her presence reassuring. The room is full of eager faces, some of them familiar from local news outlets, others from national publications. The air is thick with anticipation, and you can almost taste the tension in the room. Everyone is waiting for you to speak, for you to reveal the secrets that Eastwood Holdings has fought so hard to hide. Let's begin, Clara says, her voice cutting through the buzz. She steps forward, addressing the room. What you're about to hear is not just a local story. This is about corruption, manipulation, and the exploitation of families and communities for corporate greed. The evidence you're about to see, and the documents that will be released, prove the lengths these people have gone to control the land and the lives of everyone they've come into contact with. The reporters shuffle, cameras clicking, the weight of what you're about to say settling heavily on your shoulders. You glance at Lisa, who gives you a nod of encouragement. It's time. You step up to the podium and take a deep breath, focusing on the reporters before you. You can feel your hands shaking as you set the binder on the podium. It's the key to everything, the truth, the fight, and everything you've worked for. Eastwood Holdings is a corporate giant. You begin, your voice steady but firm. For years, they've been buying land under false pretenses, using shell companies to hide their actions. They've used intimidation, deceit, and illegal practices to push families out of their homes, all for the purpose of creating a private, lucrative development project that will benefit only them. The room is quiet now, every reporter listening intently. The weight of your words hangs in the air. I've spent weeks uncovering the connections between Eastwood Holdings and the people who've been involved in this operation. The names, the dates, the transactions, they're all here, and they're all backed up by hard evidence. This is the truth, and it's time for the world to know what's been happening behind closed doors. You pause for a moment, glancing down at the binder. The documents are all there. The names of those who've been exploited, the contracts that were signed in the dead of night, the shell companies used to hide the real owners. It's all in there. This isn't just about land. This is about power. It's about control. And it's about people who have been harmed by an unchecked system that allows corporations to do whatever they want without consequences. The reporters start to murmur, their pens flying over notebooks. You can feel the shift in the room. The weight of the story is beginning to sink in. The pieces are coming together, and the truth is about to break wide open. I've spoken to countless families who've lost their homes, their livelihoods, and their sense of security because of Eastwood Holdings. You continue, your voice unwavering. I'm here to make sure their stories are heard. And I'm here to make sure that Eastwood Holdings answers for their actions. The first question comes quickly. One of the journalists from the back of the room raises his hand. You've accused Eastwood Holdings of illegal actions, but how do you know for sure that these documents are legitimate? How do we know this isn't just an attempt to smear a powerful company? You don't flinch. You've prepared for this. I'm not just handing you these documents without proof, you respond. Every transaction has been verified. I've personally spoken with people who've been directly impacted, and I have legal backing to confirm everything in this binder. You'll see for yourselves. Another reporter, this time a woman from a national news outlet, stands up. So, what do you want from us? What's next in your plan to bring this to justice? You straighten up, your resolve solidifying. I want this story to go public. I want Eastwood Holdings investigated. I want every family affected by their greed to get justice. And I want the people behind this operation to be held accountable. But that can't happen if we stop here. This is just the beginning. The world needs to know. The questions continue, each one probing deeper into the story, each one forcing you to relive the moments of the past weeks. But you stand firm, answering with clarity, knowing that this is your chance to expose them once and for all. As the press conference winds down, Clara turns to you. You did it, she says quietly, her voice full of pride. This is going to break wide open. But you know the fight is far from over. As soon as you step outside, you'll be in the crosshairs. You've exposed them, but the danger is still real. Eastwood Holdings will try to cover their tracks, they'll try to silence you, and they'll do everything in their power to make sure the story doesn't reach the public. The reporters flood the room, excited and full of questions. But behind the excitement, you can't shake the sense that the war is just beginning. They won't go down easily. As the room clears, you look at Lisa. Her eyes are filled with a mixture of exhaustion and relief, but there's still determination there. You've come too far to stop now. We need to stay one step ahead, you say to her. This isn't over. She nods, her face hardening with resolve. We're in this together. We'll see this through. The story is out, but the fight is only beginning. And now, with the whole world watching, you're going to make sure Eastwood Holdings doesn't get away with it. The aftermath of the press conference unfolds faster than you could have imagined. Within hours, the media frenzy around Eastwood Holdings begins to take shape. Journalists from across the country start to dig into the story, picking up on the explosive details you exposed. The documents you've shared with the Sentinel are now in the hands of investigative journalists, and the pressure on Eastwood Holdings is mounting. But you know it's not over. In fact, this is just the beginning of the real battle. The moment the story breaks, you can feel the tide shift. You're no longer just someone they can ignore. You've become a target. The following morning, as you and Lisa are settling into the safe house, Clara calls. Her voice is low, and you can hear the anxiety beneath her calm exterior. They're trying to silence you, Clara warns. The connections we're dealing with are powerful. I've just been informed that Eastwood Holdings has started threatening journalists, using intimidation tactics to suppress coverage. They're coming for you. You need to disappear, at least for a little while. You know exactly what she means. As much as you've exposed, the people behind this operation have resources, money, and connections that you can't even begin to fathom. And now that the story has hit the press, they won't stop until they've shut it down. But you can't back down.
Not now.
You've come too far. The families, the victims of this ruthless land grab, they're counting on you to see this through. You've given them a voice. You can't let it be taken away. Clara, I can't just disappear, you say, your voice resolute. We've already exposed them. We have to keep pushing. I know, she replies. But listen, we need a plan. The next few days will be critical. The pressure will only intensify. You have to be careful. We're working on a bigger strategy to get this story into the hands of the authorities, but you can't stay exposed for too long. The risk is too high. You close your eyes, the weight of everything settling in. You didn't want to run. You didn't want to hide. But Clara's right. Your safety, and the safety of everyone around you, is now in jeopardy. We'll stay low for a few days, you say. But the moment we can make a move, we'll do it. I won't let them get away with this. The next few days are a blur of meetings, phone calls, and tense silences. The world is watching, and yet, you know the clock is ticking. As Eastwood Holdings scrambles to cover their tracks, they start to push back, using their influence to muddy the waters and silence anyone who dares to expose them. A few days after the press conference, Clara calls again. This time, there's a sense of urgency in her voice that makes your stomach drop. They're taking action. Someone from Eastwood Holdings has filed a lawsuit against you, she says. They're accusing you of defamation, claiming the documents are fabricated and that you've misled the press. They're trying to discredit everything you've worked for. You can't believe what you're hearing. A lawsuit? They're going to try to twist the truth, bury it, and make you the villain in this story. They're using everything they've got to ruin you, Clara continues. But here's the twist. We have something they didn't expect. We have solid evidence that can't be refuted. A key whistleblower from inside their company has reached out. They want to testify. Your heart races. A whistleblower? Someone from inside Eastwood Holdings? This is the break you've been waiting for. They're going to provide us with more detailed records and possibly more witnesses, Clara says. This could be the turning point. If we get this into the right hands, Eastwood Holdings won't be able to deny it. You take a deep breath. The game has changed. Now you're no longer just exposing their shady business practices. You've got someone on the inside, and their testimony could bring the whole operation down. Set up the meeting. You say, your voice resolute. We'll take it from there. The meeting with the whistleblower is set for a few days later, and you can't help but feel a sense of cautious optimism. If everything goes according to plan, this could be the moment when Eastwood Holdings crumbles. But you know better than to get too comfortable. The danger is still real, and Eastwood Holdings has no intention of going down without a fight. When you arrive at the secure location Clara arranged, you're met by a man in his early 40s. He looks nervous, glancing over his shoulder as if expecting someone to follow him. He introduces himself as Thomas, a former senior analyst at Eastwood Holdings. I've seen everything, Thomas says quietly, his voice full of fear. The contracts, the secret meetings, the false records. They've been hiding everything for years. And I can't live with it anymore. You sit down, your heart pounding with anticipation. This is it, the final piece of the puzzle. Thomas hands you a folder filled with detailed internal records, emails, contracts, and photos that could prove everything you've been exposing. These documents are what you need, Thomas says, looking over his shoulder again. This is the proof they can't cover up. But you have to be careful. They've got people everywhere. If they catch wind of me talking to you... He trails off, clearly terrified. You can see the weight of his decision written all over his face. He's putting his life on the line to help bring Eastwood Holdings to justice. You're doing the right thing, you say, trying to reassure him. We'll make sure your testimony gets the protection it needs. As you look through the documents, the full extent of the operation begins to sink in. Thomas wasn't just a bystander. He was at the heart of it. These records not only confirm what you've been saying, but reveal the far-reaching extent of Eastwood Holdings' operations. They've been pulling strings across multiple industries, from land development to finance, using shady deals and underhanded tactics to manipulate the market and force people off their land. It's worse than you ever imagined. You look up at Thomas, your mind racing. We're going to expose them. This is how we take them down. With Thomas's testimony and the irrefutable evidence in hand, you feel a renewed sense of purpose. You know the road ahead will be difficult, but with the final pieces of the puzzle now in place, you're ready to take the fight to Eastwood Holdings. The clock is ticking. The moment you go public with this, Eastwood Holdings will try everything to stop you. But now you have the proof, the support, and the determination to see this through. The battle has reached its final stages, and you're not backing down. The following days blur into one long, tense waiting game. With the whistleblower's testimony and the documents in hand, you know you're closer than ever to bringing Eastwood Holdings down. But as much as you try to stay optimistic, the danger is far from over. The more you uncover, the more dangerous it becomes. They'll do anything to bury the truth. You've been keeping your head low, moving from safe house to safe house, never staying in one place for too long. But every time you hear a car approach, every time you see someone watching, the paranoia creeps in. You can't afford to make a mistake now. The stakes are too high. Clara calls again, and this time, her voice carries the weight of what's to come. We've got a plan, she says, her tone firm. The authorities are ready to act, but we need to get these documents into the hands of the right people, those who can make sure Eastwood Holdings doesn't sweep this under the rug. You feel your pulse quicken. What's the next step? We're going public, Clara continues. I've arranged for a press conference tomorrow morning. We'll release everything. The documents, Thomas's testimony, everything. This isn't just about exposing a land grab anymore. This is about holding them accountable for their years of manipulation and greed. But we need to do it now before they can make their move. Your stomach churns at the thought of what's coming. The risk of going public is enormous. Eastwood Holdings won't just stand by while their empire crumbles. They'll fight back, and they'll do anything to stop you from exposing them. We're ready, you say, though the words feel hollow in your mouth. The weight of the situation is almost unbearable, but you can't back down.
Not now.
The day of the press conference arrives, and everything is set in motion. You're sitting in a small, secured room with Clara, the security team, and a few trusted journalists who have been briefed on the story. The room feels cold, sterile, like you're about to step into the lion's den. Lisa sits beside you, her eyes filled with a mix of exhaustion and determination. You know she's been through just as much as you, maybe even more. This has been a fight for both of you, and now it all comes down to this moment. The time for waiting is over. Clara looks at you, giving you a brief nod. It's time. You step up to the podium, your hands shaking as you grasp the microphone. The room is filled with the sounds of clicking cameras and murmured conversations. You take a deep breath, steadying yourself. You can't let fear take control. This is your chance to bring justice. The first question comes almost immediately. A reporter from a major news outlet stands up, her pen poised. You've claimed that Eastwood Holdings has been involved in illegal land grabs, but how do you respond to their accusations that you've fabricated the documents and are defaming them? You've been expecting this question, and you don't flinch. I have proof, you say, your voice strong. These documents are not fabricated. They have been verified, and they come from an inside source who worked with Eastwood Holdings. We have more than enough evidence to back up every claim we've made. This isn't defamation. This is the truth. The next question comes quickly. Another reporter, eager to dig deeper. What kind of impact will this have on the families that were displaced by Eastwood Holdings operations? What are you doing to help them? You glance over at Lisa, who gives you a supportive nod. This is what it's all been about, the families. The people who lost everything. We're working with legal teams and community organizations to ensure that these families get the compensation and justice they deserve, you say. But this isn't just about money. This is about accountability. The people behind Eastwood Holdings need to face the consequences of their actions, and we'll make sure that happens. The reporters continue to fire questions, each one more pointed than the last, but you stand tall, answering them with the same clarity and conviction. You're not just talking about land. You're talking about lives. And now, the world is listening. Hours later, as the press conference wraps up, you can already feel the weight of the story settling in. You've done it. The world knows the truth. Eastwood Holdings is exposed. But as the journalists leave the room, you know the hardest part is just beginning. They'll retaliate, Clara says quietly, stepping beside you. They'll come after you. You need to stay on the move. You nod, your mind already racing through the next steps. The battle isn't over, but it feels like a shift has occurred. The public is on your side now. The pressure is mounting on Eastwood Holdings, and there's no way they can suppress the truth anymore. But as you turn to leave the building, your phone buzzes in your pocket. It's a message from Thomas. They're coming for you. Be ready. Your stomach drops. You knew it was only a matter of time before they tried to silence you again. But now, you've made it public. The world knows what they've done. You're not backing down. The tension that fills the air as you step away from the press conference feels suffocating. You know you've just crossed a line that can't be uncrossed. The world is watching now, and so are the people who will do anything to stop you. The adrenaline from the press conference is starting to wear off, replaced by the harsh reality. You're in the eye of the storm. Thomas's warning weighs on you. They're coming for you. Be ready. But you've come too far to back down now. You've already sacrificed too much, and you won't let Eastwood Holdings destroy everything you've worked for. You'll expose them. You'll make sure the people they've harmed finally get justice. There's no turning back. The following hours pass in a blur of motion. Clara and the security team make quick arrangements to move you to another safe location, a more secure hideout where Eastwood Holdings won't be able to track you as easily. The team is on high alert, watching every corner, every street. You can feel the weight of the situation settling in, but you refuse to let fear control you. You've already won the first battle by making sure the truth is out there. Now you just have to stay ahead of the storm. As you head toward the new safe house, you check your phone again. There are messages from journalists, all buzzing with questions about the next steps. The story is exploding across the media. People are demanding action, and the authorities are scrambling to catch up. The pressure is on. But you know that Eastwood Holdings will use every resource they have to try to discredit you, to make sure the story gets buried. It's a race against time. That night, you lie in bed, unable to sleep. The weight of everything is pressing down on you, but you can't rest yet. You need to be vigilant. You need to be ready for whatever comes next. Your phone buzzes again. This time, it's a message from Lisa. They're not going to stop. You know that, right? You sit up, staring at the screen. The truth of her words hits you harder than you expected. They won't stop. Not until they've buried you. Not until they've erased every trace of the truth you've exposed. But you don't care. Not anymore. The truth is out there, and now, it's up to the world to decide what to do with it. They can try to silence you, but they won't win. A few days later, the pressure from Eastwood Holdings has reached a boiling point. You've seen the attacks against journalists, the smear campaigns, and the threats against anyone involved in the investigation. But something unexpected happens. The public, the media, and the people who have been following the story begin to rally behind you.
Protests are organized.
Social media explodes with outrage over the treatment of the families affected by Eastwood Holdings' actions. The company's grip on power begins to loosen. And then it happens. The authorities, under mounting pressure, begin an official investigation into Eastwood Holdings. The documents you've exposed, combined with Thomas's testimony, start to hold up under scrutiny. They can't cover it up anymore. The legal battles begin in earnest. Lawsuits are filed. Investigations are launched. Eastwood Holdings is dragged into the light, its shady dealings and corrupt practices laid bare for the world to see. Weeks later, the weight of the battle is starting to show. You're still in hiding, but the constant pressure from Eastwood Holdings has begun to fade. The company is no longer the powerful, untouchable entity it once was. The cracks in their empire are showing, and they're scrambling to save what they can. But you've won. The victims, the families who were displaced, the people whose lives were ruined by the greed of Eastwood Holdings, are beginning to get their voices heard. They're being compensated. The land they lost is being returned. You've helped change the narrative. You've helped them reclaim what was taken from them. As you sit in a quiet room, away from the chaos, you look at the pile of documents on the table. The fight is far from over, but for the first time in weeks, you allow yourself a moment of peace. You've done what you set out to do. You've exposed the truth. You've given a voice to the voiceless. And in the end, that's what matters. Eastwood Holdings may not be down for good yet, but it's no longer the unstoppable machine it once was.
The truth is out.
The public is awake, and the world has been changed. The fight was brutal, and the danger was real, but in the end, you triumphed. You took on the giants, and you didn't back down. The story isn't over yet, but for now, justice has been served. And that's all that matters.